Hit green.
Holy moly.
Great job! Yeah! This guy.
Thank you. Wow!
Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
Now we got a crash. Car spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes! Oh, what a year!
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Darian Gilliam, aka Black Flags Matter, back for another edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, the final episode on my channel for the season, so let's make it a spectacular one. We have our usual panel, and fellas, before we address the giant elephant in the room, we had some amazing racing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Another race in the playoffs. Joey Logano advances to the championship 4. Eric, start us off. What were your thoughts on that final lap battle between Chastain and Logano?
I think I said it on Twitter. It was like fire fighting fire because you had two of the most aggressive drivers in the Cup Series today. Aggressive and talented and successful. Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, not only contending for a win, but also contending for a spot in the Championship 4. And, you know, Logano's been there, done that. I think this is his 5th Championship 4 appearance in the 9 years this version of this format's been in existence. Ross Chastain's looking for his first. I mean, he's in his first playoffs. He's just happy to be here. So I expected fireworks. We saw a couple great blocks thrown by Chastain, some eerily familiar blocks. I've seen Logano get the door slammed like that on him before late in the season at a mile and a half. He didn't spin Chastain this time. He chose to race him clean. It was character development, and it worked out for him. And guess what? He's probably not going to get pile driven into at Martinsville in 2 weeks. So I was impressed by Logano's drive. I was also impressed by Chastain racing hard, but within reason. He knew the last thing what am I trying to say? The number one thing that can't happen here is I get wrecked. That's what I'm trying to say. The last thing that can happen is I get wrecked. Finishes second, still collects a lot of points. We'll look at the standings in a minute. What do you think, Jarrett?
I mean, so I've been someone in years past who's been like, Vegas should only have one date. You know, the racing doesn't show that it should have more than one. But I'll tell you what, if we have more finishes and races like the spring race and this race, I'm fine with Vegas having multiple races a year. If this is what we're going to get, this really good multi-groove racing where you have guys coming and going throughout the day, you have where guys can go 3 wide, where guys most of the time won't be right into the wall. Like, I'm down with that, man. And with the finish too to cap it off, I thought that, you know, we'll talk about ratings in a bit. All those fans that tuned in this past weekend got a hell of a show this weekend. And I'll tell you what, after nothing for me is better than after I get worn out in the morning, Darian as well, running a marathon, and you can go home and just watch an amazing, not even like just like best race of the year kind of thing, because I don't think it was that, but you can watch a race that has intrigue throughout and is amazing throughout for different reasons. So I was happy with it. If I had to give it like an out of 10 grade, it'd be like 8.5, 9 out of 10. Like that was what I could ask for. That's what I would want from a mile and a half race with this car.
Yeah. Now, Danny, what were your thoughts on that finish? It's a pretty damn good one.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like the other two said, the racing on the mile and a half with this car has been really, really good. Of course, there is safety concerns with the car, but as far as the racing goes, I don't want to change the car too much because I don't want to sacrifice the great racing. But because man, we'll talk about the obvious stuff a little bit later. But when people tuned in to that race, 'cause I'm sure there's a lot of people who tuned in after hearing about some of the other stuff that happened in the race, they got to see a good one, and it was a really good battle there at the end. Strategy came into it and led to a really good finish there with Chastain and Logano.
Yeah, and I see David Bell in the chat. Yes, sir. I definitely understand why you don't want to rewatch that race. We'll get into that later. But yeah, no. But the racing overall was absolutely spectacular from start to finish. I mean, just based on the spring one, I thought it was going to be a little more chaotic. But I mean, that first stage though was pretty tamed, and then we got to the second stage and it got a little untamed. But for the most part, in the final stage, it was just spectacular racing. We saw, a lot of comers and goers, including one Justin Haley. Jarrett, do you want to tell why you had a little bit of a interest in him leading the race?
Yeah, when he's like, I think got 2 tires and everybody got 4 late. One, I was surprised with how well he was able to manipulate the air and also race hard against guys with 4 tires that had better cars. But I did put $30 down on Haley just for the hell of it, because I think he was like 12,000 to 1 odds.
Insane.
And
I just don't know what can make you think, hey, I should bet on Justin Haley.
I looked at the data, and it was like, he's a good enough outsider. I give it a shot. And if he would have won, I would have won 15 grand. So yeah. I was not too happy when he got passed with like 14 to go.
But he kept it up there.
Stayed up there that long.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
I won't be shocked if you have a bet on Gragson this weekend.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, but Justin
in both
Haley,
series.
But Justin Haley, man, I mean, like, yeah, just the way he was able to stay up there for a while too. I mean, like, I really feel that car league racing is definitely on the rise, especially for next year, because not only was he up there, but also AJ Allmendinger at one point was inside the top 5 as well. So yeah, that is definitely a team on the rise. Just the atmosphere over there and stuff, and not only in Cup but in Xfinity, they're definitely a team to watch out for. But some other contenders though too. Hey, I want this guy to shock the world though. But Chase Briscoe, y'all. Chase Briscoe was up there towards the end.
Hold on a second.
What?
Why do you want Briscoe to shock the world? You need to be transparent, like I was about Justin Haley.
Just
here.
Because, for the chaos, for the sake of chaos, for the playoffs, right?
No. There's a little money we're using.
A little money raising. Wait, what are you talking? Yeah. Well, no. I had suggested to my parents, like, hey, if you want to make some extra money here, though, then bet on Chase Briscoe to win too. I mean, he's got the highest odds. He's got the the longest shot to win the championship out of the round of 8 drivers. But yeah, no, I mean, he definitely showed out this week, man. I mean, you talk about playoffs, specifically NASCAR playoffs, and it's like, oh, it's about peaking at the right time, 2007 Patriots, blah, you know what I mean? Like, and hey, he's living up to that, man. He is peaking at the right time here, and it would just be funny. I just think it's funny that a guy with less than 10 top 10s so far this season, this is somehow competing for a championship. It definitely makes for a very chaotic story.
So he has, on that note, I pulled up his stats. He has 8 top 10s this year. Like you kind of mentioned there, he's got 8 top 10s, half of them, 4 top 10s in the last 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So yes, he is peaking at the right time. And I don't know how he's doing it, because he was a lap down in this race. I think he was a lap down a couple weeks ago at either Texas, or maybe I'm thinking about Kansas in the first round. He's been a lap down multiple times in these playoffs. And yet he's come back to finish top 10, top 5 in this case. And he's made it to the round of 8. And, he's still, I think, 9 points below the cut line. He's still, in the danger zone. But the fact that he's made it this far, exactly, peaking at the right time, doing it some kind of special way.
Is his 3rd win of the season?
Win?
Briscoe? We're talking about Briscoe.
Sorry. I was looking at Logano. My bad.
Did I say? I hope I didn't say
no.
that.
No.
I'm just hearing too many names here.
But that is Logano's 3rd win of the year.
Yes, it is his 3rd and his 30th career win as well. Dang, he's been in the Cup Series for a while. It doesn't feel like it, but he's been there for a while, man. Yeah, for sure.
2009 was 13 years ago.
Oh, man, it feels like yesterday to me. But yeah, no. But seriously, Chase Briscoe off to a spectacular start in the round of 8. I mean, wasn't he minus 9 points below the cut line anyways to start off?
Yeah,
I think he was in that round there. Yeah, so he didn't make up any points by finishing 5th because he didn't get any stage points.
But he didn't lose any points neither, though. So hey, it's all good. That's all good. He didn't lose any points though. But someone else who definitely did lose some points. Oh boy, Ryan Blaney. Let's talk about him for a moment here. That dude could not catch a break here. I mean, he was running up front there. And hey, that was the chat's pick too, by the way. Chat, you see what I've been going through all season, because I picked Blaney to win like 3 or 4 times this year. And for one reason or another, it didn't come through. But he was running inside the top 3 for a lot of that race. And then, the first incident was him and Byron. Byron had got loose. And I don't know how those two were able to save that. That was a pretty crazy.
Yeah, the only thing that saved me was them picking Blaney because I had Larson, and we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah. But no, those two, they were able to save it. And if you know the little personal relationship between the two, you'll see the humor in that.
Me and Eric with Denny Hamlin, baby, let's go.
But no,
just enough.
But then the other issue that happened with him, the tire issue, man. The tire, man, just again, Eric. I mean, like,
was it a tire issue? He just spun out.
Oh, did he just spin out? I thought he blew a tire.
Yeah, he got loose and just spun out. He didn't blow a tire. It was weird. All race long, Dale Jr. or Letard or Burton were saying, I think that was a tire issue. And then like every 3 or 4 times they'd say that, they'd go look at the replay and be like, oh no, they just spun out. Like, I don't think there was a single tire issue all day long, which was surprising. Everyone expected there to be at least a couple. It's another mile and a half, a fast mile and a half. But no, Blaney, kind of randomly. I don't know that his car, I know he was battling some sort of vibration early in the race that they didn't know what it was, and it maybe never really went away, but it did seem kind of random. It just snapped loose on him out of nowhere while he was running like second or third. So, like, I don't want to say bad luck, because when you just spin out, that's either you or the team.
It's a net upright,
but it's also... But it could just have been weird, awkward moment with the next gen where it gets loose on you and you can't catch it because it's impossible to catch these cars.
And he was cursing
but it sucks.
He was cursing up a storm on the radio too. I can't say exactly what he said.
He was mad all race long.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. You have a top 3 car at the very least, and then all of a sudden you squander it away in the final, stage and stuff just because you get loose, man. That's tough, man. And now,
the contrary to Briscoe, because I think when we look, Briscoe and Blaney, when we look in a second, are about the same in points. Briscoe, no stage points, good finish. Blaney, lots of stage points, bad finish. They're right there with each other in points. So that's just how these races work.
It tends to even out, I guess. But it's not totally over for him, at the very least. So we'll see how he's able to respond. But, oh boy, it's about that time to discuss.
It's about that time.
Yep, it's about that time to discuss the elephant in the room. Oh boy, Bubba Wallace versus Kyle Larson there, and we see David Bell. Yeah, David Bell's son, Christopher Bell, was involved in that incident. Unfortunately, for those who didn't watch, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just told David to. He said he didn't want to watch that race anymore. I just said go watch the Roval over.
Yeah. There you go. Relive that win. But basically, if you haven't watched the incident, pretty much what happened was Larson came out of nowhere entering turn 3, and then by the time they were coming out of turn 4, he pinches Bubba a little bit. Didn't make contact though. I thought he made contact initially, but technically he did not make contact, and then squeezed Bubba into the wall a tad, and then Bubba Wallace, and that was the Kansas car, by the way. His best car, by the way, all season.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, his Kansas car, the one he won in the playoffs. Then he proceeds to basically right hook the 5. The 5 goes into the wall, driver's side first, and then Bubba goes head on as well. And then poor Christopher Bell, just minding his own damn business, by the way, gets tagged at the very last moment by Larson, and has to unfortunately DNF. And then after the wreck, though, where do I begin? Bubba Wallace walks across a hot track, by the way. There were cars still making pace laps, by the way. And then all of a sudden...
Well, they were going past him. That's like, the replay didn't show that as well, but they were...
Yeah,
there were cars like driving around and avoiding him.
Yeah. So then he walks all the way to where to the infield grass where Larson was, and then Larson's he's just trying to regather himself, man. He just took a very hard hit, driver's side first, and then I was expecting Bubba Wallace to just maybe just to talk to him and stuff, but then as soon as he put his hands up and dropped the helmet, oh boy, I was like, nope, never mind. Then he proceeds to push Larson into his car and then push him a few more times, and then Bubba Wallace walked to the infield care center and then basically slapped the one of the safety crew guys hands off of him and stuff, and had a very interesting post-race interview as well, where he basically told Marty Sider to stop fishing, even though he was basically doing his job. And then when asked about the Christopher Bell incident as well, about him getting involved, he said sports, and oh boy, that wasn't a good look. But basically, what happened? It led to a one race suspension this weekend at Homestead. No points fine. No money fine as well. So let's start off here. Jarrett, we were watching this race together, so I'll start off with you, Jarrett. Just what happened, man? Just what was he thinking? What were your thoughts on that?
Do you remember Nashville this past summer? Mm-hmm. And how, I had said then that he needs to get his emotions in check because they're going to bite him in the ass one day.
And they proceeded
that day was October 16th in Las Vegas.
And it's really unfortunate because a few weeks ago we were talking about him overcoming and winning Kansas. Just literally a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't going to do it with that car anymore.
No.
That's been one of his biggest draws, but understandably, that's been one of the biggest things that people will point to when they don't like Bubba Wallace is that he does let his emotions control him. And if he's ever going to be the driver that both I think NASCAR as well as fans and the team thinks that he can be, a driver who can who has the talent, has shown to be a top 10 driver at times, has shown the second half of the season to be one of the best drivers, most consistent ones out there. If he's going to be that long term, this has to be something addressed during the off season. During this suspension, let's be real, he's going to have a lot of time on his hands this week. But I said after Nashville, when he basically stopped talking to his crew chief and then stormed off on the red flag, that that's unacceptable. You need to get your emotions in check. And this is just an escalation of that. And, we see the explosive consequences of it.
Yeah.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. It was very disappointing to see him sort of just heat of the moment react strongly like that. But I think what adds to it, he had a good car at Nashville. Then they had run into issues. He has a good car here at Las Vegas, wins the first stage, I believe. And the moment something goes wrong, just it's over. He's not able to keep his emotions in check. I really can't add anything more to what you just said, Jarrett, because I wholeheartedly agree. What you said about his emotions being one of the things fans like most about him is true. It makes him appear more human, a little more, in some ways, down to earth than your average major sports superstar. But at the same time, they get the better of him too often. I mean, we go back to the Bowman throwing the Powerade at his face. That wasn't the greatest sin in the world, absolutely not, but it was certainly not a good look. Wasn't a good decision in that moment. Look at Nashville, you look at Las Vegas this weekend, a lot of bad decisions. As for the penalty, I think the penalty was fair. There's certainly a fair question to be asked about precedent, because Carson Hocevar right hooked somebody at IRP this year, did not get suspended. I forgot about this example until earlier today, but about 2 years ago at Texas, I think it was Ben Rhodes right reared Christian Eckes into the dog leg at Texas. Yeah. And I was shocked no penalty came from that. I was at that race. That was the double bird race that Eckes gave him afterwards. NASCAR has not penalized right rear hooked front straightaways in the past. Perhaps neither of the two I just mentioned were quite as blatant or obvious or egregious as what Bubba did. In the case of Hocevar, it's not a high-speed oval. There's no dog leg there. The angle's not quite as bad. I'm not condoning it, but I am saying it probably wasn't quite as egregious as what Bubba did. But I think going forward, this should be the new standard. If you right rear hook somebody in retaliation, it should be a one-race suspension. And the team actually, I think, gets off pretty easy here. Yeah, the damage is done from a PR standpoint. Sponsors probably aren't happy with Bubba for what he did, but they're competing for owner points, and John Hunter Nemechek's going to drive that car. And as long as he starts the race on Sunday, they're still going to collect their owner's points. There was no deduction there. So some will argue this was even too light of a penalty just for that reason alone. But I think it sends the message to Bubba, and that's what's most important.
I think I'm okay with no points penalty here for Bubba because, let's be real, him sitting out, that's essentially the same as taking away 40 points because he gets zero down by not being
driver point stand.
Yeah. So he gets nothing now at this point. So it's essentially the same as a points deduction there by sitting out this race. I am kind of surprised that there wasn't maybe at least some kind of money fine, especially more for him. Even though it was a light shove, putting a hand on the official, I'm surprised there wasn't something more for that reason. But and don't get this wrong, all four of us, all this week, we've all criticized Bubba over what happened this weekend, and don't take criticism as we don't like him, because that's not the case either.
No. As we see it on social media too, you can criticize him and not be hateful, racist, all that sort of thing.
I'll be real. I thought he should have been suspended the rest of the season, personally.
If you look at and Eric might have something to say about this. If you look at the Matt Kenseth situation specifically, that does seem like it would have been correct. We're at a point where there's not many races left in the season. And I think it was Kyle Petty was talking about it on one of the shows this week that he believed that he should have been suspended for the rest of the season. Maybe. But at the end of the day, it's NASCAR's decision too.
Yeah, and I just think. I'm sorry, just really quick. I put a poll in the chat. Was the Bubba Wallace penalty fair? And so far, the vast majority of you agree that it was fair, and I agree as well. But go ahead.
Just talking about precedent, because you referenced the Matt Kenseth thing, and I would argue from a safety standpoint, what Bubba did was worse. But from just an egregiousness standpoint, Kenseth 100 laps down, coming out and just waiting on the leader in the round of 8. Like, that's a little different than just in the moment losing your head real quick and wrecking a guy. I'll give NASCAR officials from 2015 credit at least for that decision. But if we talk about precedent, Steve O'Donnell went on SiriusXM NASCAR radio last night, and I don't know the exact quote, but he basically said, like, fans are going to look at how we officiated one thing versus another. Honestly, in the moment, this was just saying, hey, you can't do what Bubba did. And I thought it was interesting. He was basically saying, yeah, we didn't look at precedent. We just said, hey, we don't like this. We're going to suspend him. That made me think of something that like maybe Mike Helton would do, or like something back in not the pre-Brian France era, where there was one guy who kind of just ruled with an iron fist and just sort of, didn't completely make up the rules as he went along, but he just kind of eyeball test would see something and say, I don't like that. Boom, here's my new law of the land. And I don't like it. I'd want there to be established precedents so that everybody knows exactly where NASCAR stands on various issues. But in this case, I think the penalty was right. Like I mentioned, the Eckes thing, or the Rhodes turning Eckes, Hocevar turning Colby Howard, if those weren't even, fines, to be fair, I don't think they could have suspended Bubba. I think they did not follow their own precedent by suspending him, even though I think it was the right call.
We talked about it on here, and I think I even said that I thought that Gregson should have been not fined, suspended.
Oh, yeah.
He should have been suspended. Hocevar should have been for right-rearing people. This is, again, we've talked about how drivers keep pushing that line in NASCAR. I think, Darian, you and I talked about it when we were streaming after the race, that this had to be the moment I think beforehand should have been, but this had to be a definitive moment where the adults stepped into the room and put their foot down finally, because people have been getting away with this too long.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bubba Wallace had to be used as the example here too. And then when you add more context into it too, it makes this whole situation even worse, because Kurt Busch, we'll talk about him later in the show, but the driver, the former driver of the 45, Kurt Busch, retired due to concussions sustained from wrecks in the next gen. And then Bubba Wallace, less than 24 hours later, proceeds to wreck someone on purpose in the next gen.
And then Larson's got a teammate who's likely out the rest of the season with a concussion.
Yeah, so thank goodness that nobody was hurt. Thank goodness that it wasn't a whole lot worse, but yeah, it's just not a terrible look. And then also too, it was the 11th anniversary of Dan Welton's passing too. So
at that track,
at that track,
people got to remember at that track.
Yeah, the day of it. So I was like, oh, not a good look at all. But yeah, Bubba Wallace. I get some people to an extent, like, oh yeah, should have been suspended the whole season, yada yada yada. Yeah, I get all that too. I feel the penalty was fair. Maybe. Could there have been like a bit of a points deduction, for ownership points and stuff like that? Perhaps.
Well, what's the team got to do with it? It's the driver doing the bad act. It's not the team's fault that they didn't tell him to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, didn't Gregson get penalized owner points too?
That's what
I don't get that.
They're responsible. It just kind of goes hand in hand. If they're going to dock you driver points, they're probably going to dock you owner points as well. I don't know. So it was interesting in their statement. It sounds like they've sat down, like 2311 has sat down with Bubba, and I would have been probably very uncomfortable, but I would have been very curious to hear how those conversations went. You imagine President Steve Loletta was there. Denny Hamlin was probably there. I doubt Michael Jordan was there. Maybe he was on a speakerphone. I don't know. But I'd be really curious to hear what they told Bubba, because like Jarrett said, his emotions are one of his greatest assets, but in this case, they became a really strong weakness. So it's the Ross Chastain deal. You don't want him to go out there and be so aggressive that he's wrecking people every week, but you're afraid to change him. because who he is has gotten him to this point. So I would be curious to know what 23XI said to Bubba this week in their meetings.
I think of it like any other competition. We talked about this before we started the show. The Alabama football team, they just lost Tennessee. They have a player who's now has some investigations going on for allegedly hitting a Tennessee fan in anger for losing that race. That's something you don't do as a football player, even if the crowd is storming the field. You don't do that. So now in this case, Nick Saban's got to talk to that player and say, hey, are your emotions in check? Are you going to be okay? Same thing here. Once the suspension is over, 23XI Racing probably going to have to sit down on Bubba and say, hey, are you good to go? Is this going to be an issue? They're going to have to sit down and make their own decision if they want him to step back into the car after this.
Yeah,
I will say, I found his apology, like, the apology was right there, an admission of guilt.
I took it that way too.
He didn't even apologize to Kyle Larson.
That exactly. Like he said something might issue with the 5. It's like, okay, like, are you actually sorry for it, or are you just sorry that like your sponsors and manufacturer are mad at you?
Sorry, my car hit the 5.
To me, it was dumb to even put a statement out before NASCAR had released their penalty report, because I interpreted it as him unintentionally incriminating himself because he specifically apologized to Christopher Bell. And I'm like, if your steering broke, that's not your fault. But what happened to Bell really isn't your fault at that point. Why are you apologizing to him?
That was BS too. Like that my steering broke. So what did I do? According to the SMT data, I gunned it down into the infield because everyone knows when you can't steer the car, drive at full speed towards pit road.
Yeah, everyone's exposed him for that. That's
no, and I think it's fair to dunk on him for blatantly lying during that interview, but I don't blame him for it. People gave me flack for saying this, but like that's what you got to do. If he goes out there and says anything else, he's for sure getting suspended and he's getting fined. He's getting everything. You have to give an interview. NASCAR they probably fine you if you don't give an interview in that case. And the reporter's going to ask you that question. You either say no comment or you make up a somewhat credible excuse the way Bubba did. I mean, Matt Kenseth, my right front went down. Oh, whatever, that's just what you do in that case. People are using that as Bubba lies. It's like every driver will lie in that instance.
NASCAR set the precedent. As long as you don't admit it, we won't penalize you.
Bubba was dumb enough to tell the truth a few years ago when he spun out intentionally, and he learned from that. So people giving him grief for that interview. No, he did exactly what he had to do. He was in a trap. He had to say what he said.
Yeah, but I couldn't think of a worse driver to do that to than Larson at the moment. Just as soon as that happened, I was like, oh man, NASCAR Twitter, NASCAR social media, they're just going, and they went off. Everyone's been going off, man.
I want to bring a point about this. Why do we put so much attention on all the bad actors on social media? Like, why can't people just ignore them? Who gives a shit what they say?
That's what I try to do.
I mean, they're the loudest.
Everyone's like, have you seen what they're saying on Twitter or Instagram? I'm like, I don't care.
See, like,
who cares if there's idiots? Just ignore them, and they won't have the power some people think they have.
Identify them quietly as idiots and then ignore them.
Yeah, exactly. See, I don't get it.
Well, some of these other idiots too include people who don't even watch NASCAR, giving their
then
their 2 cents about it.
Sure, yeah.
They have
ignore them.
It's hard to ignore them though when they have enormous platforms, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the
That's
people
the problem.
watching them aren't going to watch the race either. Who cares what they think?
That is true.
Like that's my this is what actually gets me the most out of all of it is why do NASCAR fans care so much about people that don't give a damn about the sport think of them? Who cares? Like, ignore them.
See, NASCAR
that
fans
is my big thing.
I did block the Nick Adams person. I think everyone else should do it. It makes your Twitter
He's
a lot
troll.
Yeah, he's a
like,
troll. It's obvious he's a troll.
Who cares? Man. I'm sorry. We can talk about the merit of the penalty and everything like this all day. I am so sick of talking about people who don't know a damn thing about this sport about their opinion. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like this, just push it aside. Like I see, and that includes everybody in the chat too. Stop giving them attention. Like
I agree.
Man, we're 33 weeks into the season. I'm done with this crap.
The unfortunate part of that though is like some of the labeling and stuff. I'm just like, man, like I mean, I have never seen another driver be called a thug for incidents like that and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I see where you're going with that for sure.
It's like you said this earlier. It sucks more of who he had this beef with the lead of this because it's no secret that when what happened in 2020 happened, although a lot of people, came to realize Larson was better than that, it sadly attracted some fans to him that maybe he doesn't even want that do get out of line on situations like this. No one can deny that. And that came out this week as well, too.
Yeah, but one final question before we move on here too. Where does Bubba Wallace go from here? Eric, I'll start off with you. Where does he go from here?
No, that's a really good question because he's an emotional guy, and I think the kind of universal scorn that he's faced this weekend, even people who like Bubba, who are being very fair, all say, yeah, he deserved to be suspended or at least penalized for that. You know, he's going to get booed like crazy at Martinsville. Yeah, he's going to get the shit booed out of him at Martinsville. Probably Phoenix, probably most of next year. He's going to have to get used to that because there are some drivers who I think, I think if Martin Truex Jr. woke up one day and started getting booed, I think he could handle it. I think Brad Keselowski's done a decent job of handling it, especially early in his career. Kyle Busch, hit or miss. Sometimes you can tell.
Bubba Wallace, though, he doesn't come off as someone who can handle it too well.
It will get to Bubba Wallace. So I hope he is surrounding himself with the right people who can keep him in check, keep him as focused as possible because he has unfinished business. He's still a young driver with a young team who has big aspirations, big goals, big dreams, and a major incident like this could derail that, at least in the short term. And I hope he has the right people around him to prevent that.
I say this with all due respect for him. He needs to try to find ways to, just get his own mind right. Don't go do the Netflix specials. Don't go do all this stuff that could distract from making yourself, better personally behind the scenes. That makes any sense. Like I feel like he needs to focus on himself being a good race car driver and not so much as to all this stuff that maybe doesn't need to be happening in his life. It's going to happen no matter what, but he needs to find a way to tune it all out.
Yeah, I'd say I'd do that. If people, there's going to be people who are going to fish for interviews. Don't do a bunch of interviews with especially mainstream publications that don't cover NASCAR normally. If you're not having to do anything with the race car, the next couple weeks, stay in the hallway with your fiance and your dog, and just enjoy their company. Do stuff that keeps you in a good space.
He's a big Tennessee Vols fan. They're doing great. Take this week. Go to the game. Go to the game.
Okay, man. It's a big game this weekend. But
I want to point something out real quick. Andrew Thompson in the chat says this funny. By the way, my name has one R and one T. Just letting everyone know. But he says Jared cusses, chat sleeps. Eric cusses, chat. Oh my God, Eric said a swear.
It's so unexpected from Eric at this point. But no,
I don't cuss that much anymore.
That's why you should tune into the NASCAR Weekly podcast. Yeah. I'm unfiltered. I'm unhinged.
But no,
golly gee whiz.
But in conclusion, though, my stepdad always told me, whether it's in life or in sports and stuff, it's all about self-evaluating. Self-evaluation. What can I do to get better today and tomorrow? And right now, Bubba Wallace is at a very important crossroads here. I feel like we're obviously he's gonna have a lot of time this week to think about what he did, but once we hit the off season, he needs to self-evaluate, figure out, okay, what do I need to change mentally to help, my driving style, to help my team and stuff? Because like Jared said earlier, there have been times this year where, it's looking like he's definitely progressing from just a mid-pack driver to a very good one, too. We've seen that. We've seen the potential, too. He has the team around him, the right crew guys around him, a crew chief who definitely believes in him 100% as well. So I feel like Bubba Wallace needs to take a lot of time to self-evaluate this offseason, and if he's able to, then, hey, maybe he could be a playoff guy next year, based off of wins, or maybe he can just point his way in through consistency. I do think, though, I don't know what Kurt Busch's long-term plans are going to be. Obviously, he might want to race, every now and then and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like 2311 should hire him as, a driver coach, a mentor, and stuff like that. Because they're going to have two young guys there next year.
Essentially, that's what in IndyCar, that's what Franchitti became for Ganassi. Yeah. So that was a role like that would be great for Kurt Busch. Yeah. He himself, we all know the emotional disaster he became in the early 2010s. But we also know the redemption arc he had after that. He would be perfect to be the driver coach of 2311 Racing. This is the perfect time for him to sit down with Bubba and say, hey, man, let's talk about all this.
Yeah, somebody had commented on my video from last night, too. Hey, this is this past weekend's incident was basically Bubba Wallace's Kurt Busch moment. Kurt Busch has had some pretty bad moments in the past.
He had a couple moments.
This is Bubba's first offense. Yeah, this is his first major event. Let's just say.
I compare it to Kyle Busch 2011 in the trucks personally.
Yeah.
But hopefully Kurt Busch can stay on and on the team as a role model and stuff, similar to what Dario Franchini's doing with Chip Ganassi and IndyCar. But yeah, do we have any more to say on the subject? I think we've said it all over the weekend.
I feel like we and the entire world have covered it now.
Yeah, we've covered it nonstop too. I know. Really. Go ahead.
Go get me a Happy Meal after this.
Yeah,
the adult.
I was just gonna say. Long story short, bad Bubba. Don't do that again.
Yeah, just please don't do that again. And the chat agrees with us. I mean, 83% thought the penalty was fair. 16% thought it wasn't fair. So yeah.
And while we have almost 600 in here, lick that like button, baby.
Yes, sir. Lick the like button, y'all. Yes, lick the like button. But back to the playoffs. Let's go over the playoff cut line really quick. Joey Logano, obviously, locks himself into the Championship 4. And hasn't he made the Championship 4 in, like, each even year of its existence? 2014, 2016,
I think so.
18. Yeah, I think so.
20 and 22, yep.
Yeah,
that's
pretty a very interesting streak, no doubt. But as for the rest of the playoffs, Ross Chastain is P2 plus 18, Chase Elliott plus 17, which Chase Elliott was non-existent. I didn't really see much of him up front.
He just ran 20th all day. What the heck happened?
Very
odd.
Very shocking for sure. And then rounding out the Championship 4 so far, Denny Hamlin is plus 6, followed by William Byron. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, give a warning to David Bell. Don't listen to this part.
Yeah, yes, we got to do it. Sorry, bro. We're not trying to rub it in. Just speaking facts here. But so far below the cut line, P5 is William Byron -6, Chase Briscoe in P6 -9, P7 Ryan Blaney -11, and finally Christopher Bell -23. So fellas, I mean, what are your thoughts on this too? I mean, like, did we see multiple guys below the cut line, make their way in, or perhaps just one?
Well, most normal years, I'd say Bell at this point's out because usually, 23 points is hard to make up in 2 races in this round. But with how things go in 2022 and how wild and topsy-turvy every other week has been, I could see him making up 10 to 15, 20 points this week and then running well at Martinsville. I could see him winning in the next 2 weeks. The car has enough speed. I wouldn't even say arguably anymore. He is the fastest Toyota out there. As for Ryan Blaney, I think if he's going to get it done, it has to be this weekend. Everybody else, they're all within striking distance of falling out or getting in. I will say that Denny Hamlin, we've talked about guys who have gotten better as the seasons went on. Denny Hamlin has silently, stayed one of the most consistent guys. You don't hear about him winning every other week. You don't hear about him running top 5, but he is always getting stage points. He's always getting top 5s, top 10s. So I wouldn't count Denny Hamlin out. He's good at Homestead. He's really good at Martinsville, and I don't see a repeat of running 30th all day like he did in the spring.
After the horrible start to the season, it's good to see him turn it around. Danny?
I want to say, although stats-wise, this is either going to be worse or about the same as it was for him in 2020, because his average finish is the same as it was in 2020 right now. William Byron has only had 9 top 10s this year, and he's only had 5 top 5s, but 2 of those are wins. But one of those wins came at Martinsville, and when that race comes along, I've got to have him circled as someone. If they bring that same car, he looked very dominating there at Martinsville, and that could be the race that gets Byron into the Championship 4.
Well, and speaking of Byron, looking at some, the stat line, while he hasn't got many top 10s, top 5s, anything like that this year, he's led 714 laps, which is only second to Chase Elliott this season of any driver actually.
Yeah, so. It is the most laps he's ever led in a season, which is strange when you look at the finish results.
Yeah.
All I want to say is the 4 that are currently in, Logano, Chastain, Elliott, Hamlin, that would be a heck of a Final 4 as far as storylines. 2 of the most aggressive drivers, 2 other drivers who have beef with some of the other drivers. You got Chastain and Hamlin still looking for his first championship.
Chastain,
that's what I'm saying. Right. There's beef. Yeah. That would be I don't want to call it now, but I'm like, I kind of want that to be the Championship 4 in a lot of ways. That's going to be really interesting.
remember what I think it was Burton or Petty said it, either one. They said they're not going to let Ross Chastain win a championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that about Logano in 2018.
He
though.
proceeds to win. Yeah.
I mean, I can't
Logano-
take these drivers seriously because I never really follow up, especially Denny. He doesn't follow up.
You mentioned Logano. Let's talk about him for a second. He is the one who is advanced already. Is this starting to feel kind of like the 2018 season? I mean, yeah, he has 3 wins now, but he only had 2 wins that season when he won a championship.
Well, so here's something to bring up about him. Danny, you remember where we were the first weekend of June, right? We were in
Gateway, yeah.
Yeah. A very similar track to that of Phoenix is what the driver said. It raced like that. Do you remember who the 2 biggest storyline guys were for the most part of these 8 that are left in when it came to speed alone? It was Joey Logano
and Chase Briscoe.
I'm just saying, Joey Logano and that team have 3 weeks now, and Chase Briscoe's been on a roll. That might be your championship fight right there.
Blaney, I also remember being pretty good at Gateway until he had an issue, I think.
And did he start on the pole at Martinsville?
He did. I think
he did in the spring. I may be wrong. He was started up front. He ran up front though.
Yeah.
Let me pull up New Hampshire really quick while I'm thinking about it. This is why I keep this notebook, because I always can just flip right to it eventually. But when you look at New Hampshire coming up, I'm just thinking far ahead when you think of these drivers and which ones would be really good for the championship. Interestingly enough, Joey Logano ran 24th in that race. But if you look at the guys up front, Christopher Bell won. Second place, Chase Elliott. Scroll down a little bit, you got Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, all those guys in the top 10. William Byron right there. So it's going to be interesting leading up to it. I think with the 1.5 miles, you got to look at Ross Chastain, though, for this weekend. I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast coming into Las Vegas. I talked about it in my video. He scored 76 more points on 1.5 miles this season than anyone else. That is over a race's worth of points more than anybody else in the playoff field. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we can talk about points all we want, but I mean, hey, in these playoffs, all it takes is one race, one win. We've seen Christopher Bell, win out of nowhere in the past. So hey, I wouldn't put it past him to steal one of these next 2 races.
One guy is always guaranteed to be in on points.
Yes,
and I wouldn't be surprised after 2.5 miles, especially with how Chase Elliott's floundering and everybody else is a little further back, if Ross Chastain exits this weekend plus 40 going into Martinsville.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. And then other guys below the cut line too. I mean, obviously Chase Briscoe. You talk about peaking at the right time though. He's one still to watch out for, especially at Homestead this weekend, I think. Yeah, done pretty good there in Xfinity, but Ryan Blaney too. I mean, we talked about him being consistent all season long, but it's just, when is he just gonna catch a break? He just needs to catch one small break in one of these 2 races, and then I could see him in the championship for it too. I could see him making it on points alone too. I mean, you look at the guys who are in the championship for it too. You can make a case for Ross Chastain winning this weekend. So he gets a win, and then either Denny Hamlin or Chase Elliott get the win. You know what I mean? So it leaves one more guy on points.
I'm concerned about Chase Elliott. I honestly am.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a little bit. I mean, is that warranted just because of the one weekend? Or
no, it hasn't been one weekend. Take out the Roval and Talladega, and he has run oddly out of character for Chase Elliott, especially at tracks he's run well at before. I'm not counting him out. I think that of any of these 7 guys we're talking about, I think that overall he has the best team and crew chief combination with the driver and everything in the field of them. But they have not put together a good playoff run so far.
No, they've got 2 top 10s in 7 races. Now it was, I think, a first and a second, but I mean, that's not consistent. That's not good. That's not.
Yeah. By their standards though, I mean, last weekend was just one of the worst races I've ever seen. I mean, I know some Chase Elliott fans were just oh my gosh, what's going on? When he was struggling in the first round. And I was like, well, guys, I mean, fellas, he's got a cushion here too. No need to worry. But I mean, is it time for Chase Elliott fans to start panicking here a little bit?
Well, I'll read off where, his, at least the last couple finishes. Obviously not all of them are speed related. Some of them he got taken out late. I get that. But closing out races is part of getting through this round. But when you look at since Daytona, you got 29th there, 36th at Darlington, 11th at Kansas, did get second at Bristol, 32nd at Texas, 1 Talladega, 20th at the Roval, 21st at Las Vegas. Yeah, I get it. He ran fast in some of those races. He should have won the Roval. But, this is just the nature of the beast this year, is that you're not going to have every race run out till green. I don't think that of the last 3 races, I don't think all 3 of them are running green till the end for a 40-lap run. I think that more than likely all 3 of them will probably end in like a last 5 to 15 lap, sprint to the finish, where a crazy restart could knock somebody from running second or third to 32nd or 33rd. So that's kind of where I see it.
I'm not panicked about Elliott getting to the championship 4. He still has a 17-point cushion. He's good at Martinsville. I think Hendrick cars will be decent at Miami. He's not going to run 20th 2 weeks in a row. I highly doubt it. I'll be shocked. I just think if the championship race was this next weekend, I don't think I'd pick him. That's where I'm at. Like he's no longer my clear runaway. Yeah, I'll pick him at Phoenix. He's the safe pick. I don't feel that way right now, just because, they've had races in these playoffs that they've just missed the setup on, and then other races where things have just gone wrong. I don't know. I'm not loving the momentum.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see if he's able to turn it around. But that'll conclude for the points part of the show. But now let's move on to the ratings. Over the weekend, the Las Vegas race had a 1.57 rating with just over 2.6 million viewers in total. The viewership was up 25% from the Vegas race on NBCSN last year, and ratings up 30% from that same race last year as well. This was the highest watched 33rd race of the season since 2017. Excuse me, with some of these races. With some of these races also being held on the main NBC. And as far as the key demographic, 487,000 made up 18% of the audience. So it's good to, for once in the playoffs, it's good to finally see a ratings increase. I mean, do you think this trend will continue, or just based on history, it will just either flatline or go down?
Week over week, I think it will. Anytime NASCAR makes it to a mainstream audience, the next week usually has a bump up in ratings. So you can look at 2020 Las Vegas, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
So I think either you, Darian, or you, Jared, in our chat today mentioned, it'd be really interesting to see hour by hour how the ratings increased this last week. And I imagine the Bubba Larson spectacle, let's just leave it at that, boosted some of the mid-race third quarter numbers, if I had to guess. But we'll see if that carries over into Homestead. I think if fans, like you guys said earlier, fans tuned in to the second half of this Vegas race, they probably liked what they saw. Hopefully they're encouraged to tune in for Miami.
I'll be curious if any of that any of those detractors say, well, I don't watch it since he's racing. Maybe they'll tune in. I don't know.
It'll be interesting also to see how
the key demo is going to go down in percentage wise.
Well, I think the key demo, what I'm going to be interested in is the key demo and audience with the F1 race being on at the same time this weekend.
Oh yeah,
is it? Yeah. What is the yeah, I know they're the same day. But what time is the F1 race? Are they just going head to head, same hour, same?
I believe it starts. I believe it starts a little after the race. The Cup race begins. I'll have to check again. It was the same thing last year.
Yeah. I'll check right now.
Okay. So while
I'm genuinely curious. They're in my neck of the woods. I could drive 2.5 hours down the road and sit in the parking lot
that's
for $100.
Yeah, and their championship is basically wrapped up already.
Yeah.
And then go use another $130 to go buy a Mercedes hat.
Mom, look, I made it. I'm here.
Their merch is so expensive, man. I've tried to buy it. I can't do it. Too expensive.
F1 race starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and looking down at when the Cup race starts, the Cup race starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh, shit, they're at the same time.
Yep, they're at the same time.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, and F1 did that on purpose.
Of course.
Yeah.
They want
I don't know.
Yeah, they want Maybe I don't know. Do they even know NASCAR exists or whatever? I don't know. They seem to be in their own little world at this point.
They're trying to take the American landscape in America. They know NASCAR exists.
See, sometimes like some of these F1 elitists, they're in their own little world sometimes, or whatever, that they forget that I don't know. Some of these fans forget that any other motorsport exists.
I don't care
F1.
what they think. I care what the execs think of scheduling wise. That's what I care about.
But they're definitely competing for sure. So we'll see who comes out on top. I got a feeling it'll be NASCAR though, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong here, but we'll see. But anyways, speaking of certain percentages or whatever, it's time to move on to the poll, the famous iceberg poll. Jarrett.
Well, now that my hearing has come back, poll went pretty good this week. We got about 14.3K votes. 37% thought it was a great race, and 38% thought it was a good race. So 75% net positive. 15% said it was an average race, 4% below average, 5% said bad, so 9% net negative. We have a new person to give their vote as the first comment. Isaiah Haight. Is that positive? And it's Hait.
Oh,
I don't care. It's his last name's Haight. It has to be negative, right?
I'm gonna say positive.
I'm gonna say positive too.
It is a 3-word comment.
Negative.
I hate I hate Logano.
Oh, hey.
Woohoo! I feel like I never win this unofficial
That was
bet.
so obvious too. Yeah, good job, Eric. So obvious.
Hate.
All right, but looking at some other ones. This one from Spencer was the top one. What a pass for the win. What a race. That was awesome. Loved the multi-grooved racing today. Lots of leaders, lots of lead changes under green. That is true. And lots of, and in all big letters, parity in the field all race. So good there. Raphael here says, if NASCAR did a driver of the day, it would totally go to Kyle Busch. What a drive, what a race. That's right.
Yeah, he came back.
That is
man.
right.
Yeah, had a clear head. Came back.
Ordinarily, it's killed.
Let's see what else we got here. JGR for life says, best Vegas race I've seen since 2018 fall. The leader really couldn't drive away, and the cautions and drama made for the race to be exciting throughout the day. For Bubba, he needs to be suspended the rest of the year. No appeals required. For Ben Bayshore, this will be his final race with Kyle Busch.
Yep, Kyle Busch don't have to worry about working with him
He's
ever
outta
again. Ever again.
And I had my question answered for me. I think Bob tweeted out that the 4th race will be the Clash next year. So we're assuming Ty Gibbs will be in the 18 next year. He'll have Ben Bayshore for the Daytona 500 unless JGR pulls a big brain move and has another crew chief so they don't have to have a suspension. I don't know how that'd work. Let's see. Another one here. I swear people at the front of the field today were like, what? Kyle Busch? What the hell are you doing here? I'm not used to this. Yeah. Also, Briscoe is the biggest underdog this season.
Yes, he is. Yes, put some money on him.
Log Drive says, aside from what happened with Bell being wrecked, I thought this race was fantastic. Intermediates keep having amazing racing. Rick here. Rick says, one of, if not the top 10 races of the year. There's a lot of people, just fantastic race, great racing. Another one, Brandy says, so heartbroken for Christopher Bell. Nolan, 2 things, great finish. Bubba better be suspended. This was commented 3 days ago. And it has a lot of comments under it that I will not look at. I'll scroll down to the bottom and hope to God that I have a hazmat suit for it. And if I can read any of them. I was surprised. We didn't get a ton of comments, but let's see. Can't read that one. Can read that one. Can read that. I'm not going to read that one. Can read that one. Not going to read that one. Good Lord. It's like every other one. Not going to read that one. Going to read that one.
We figured it'd be like that at the bottom.
You need double layer hazmat suit.
All right, I'm gonna read the ones I can though. Ross Crash Stain says, "Boo, babyface Joey Logano."
Okay, insightful.
Deegan Hardy, average but not great. Just wish Larson Oh, never mind.
Uh,
Oh,
I read the
God.
first 3 lines and I'm like, nope.
Careful,
never
Jared,
mind.
careful.
Oh, chill.
Not good. Denny delivers was the lowest voted comment. I feel safe reading that one.
There you go.
No one, absolutely no one. Chase Briscoe running at the front. Who invited me? I ain't gonna read the full comment of really any of them. It was a wonderful week, and let's move on to the Xfinity race.
Yes, sir. The Xfinity race was very interesting. Well, hold on. Before we actually talk about the race in general, the first few laps, you could watch the first 15 to 17 laps not only on NBC but also on NASCAR's YouTube channel by accident. Yeah, NASCAR accidentally streamed the race, the first few laps of the race.
Can I acknowledge that literally on last week's show, we suggested that they should try streaming a race to YouTube to see what the numbers would be.
Yes, we
Specifically an
did.
Xfinity or truck race.
Yeah.
And it was like,
and at first I was like, okay, either NASCAR has made a huge mistake or they're actually listening to us. So I chose the first one, obviously, and was proven right. It was a mistake.
yeah, they privated it shortly thereafter.
Maybe Big Brand are like, someone was just like, hey, let's just see what this does for a second.
To be fair, they almost had 2,000 watching
Yeah.
with no promotion, which again is not great. But if you know YouTube streaming standards for NASCAR content,
That's pretty good.
like that's actually pretty good. I mean, when they have like Cup onboards, they only I think get up to like 4,000 at any point.
Well, I think the reason those could be better if they offered more than just a POV of someone that we don't know is even going to do good. Sometimes it works out they get someone who's actually going to go on to win the race, and sometimes that's pretty cool to look at.
I think Logano was the featured in-car this week, and of course he won the race, so that worked out.
Yeah.
That doesn't usually work out.
The funny thing about that whole ordeal to me was people were blaming us for bringing it up. I'm like, dude, there was nearly 2,000 people watching.
They knew almost instantly. I'm
Yeah.
sure there was a boss that texted and said, "Hey, what is this doing up here?"
Yeah.
I just love that the title was race replay. So we now know exactly how those race replays get posted on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
No, I've known that
they
for
just
a while.
stream it in private.
Yeah, no, I've known that
It's
for a while because whenever they
Yeah.
make them public, it says, "Oh, streamed 2 or 3 days ago." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is one of those deals." But they corrected it in the end. But to the Xfinity race as a whole, though, Josh Berry, he wins. JRM, they finished 1, 2, 3 with Berry finishing first, Noah Gragson second, and then Justin Allgaier in third. The worst junior motorsports car was Sam Mayer in 7th place. So when your worst car finishes inside the top 10, that's a pretty damn good team you have. So yeah,
We shouldn't be shocked that Berry won because he has had a very mid-season, I think, compared to even last year. But granted, this is his third win of the season.
Yeah,
he's won a few times this year.
And he won at the same track last year too. So.
Yeah, he won at Charlotte earlier this year.
Yeah, so he won this track last year. None of us really expected him to win because we've gotten so used to how good his teammate Gregson's been doing that we've all forgotten about Berry. And now, pride and joy of Hendersonville, Tennessee, he wins and gets to go compete for a championship in his first full-time season in the Xfinity Series. How about that?
Yeah, feel-good story for sure. Now, a not-so-feel-good story. Poor Noah Gragson, man. He was out front by a good 6.5 to 7 seconds before a caution came out. And you're probably thinking, well, okay, Darren, there was probably a wreck, right? Nope. The 19 just got loose off of turn 2, and NASCAR, with their happy trigger fingers, pressed the caution button there. Unbelievable there. And that ended up surrendering Noah Gregson's huge lead. And he was stuck in that dirty air and had to fight for that second place finish. He was definitely pissed off after the race. Mostly at himself, though. Not at the caution. But, I mean, it definitely affected the outcome for sure, though. But, yeah, just another officiating woe, but yeah.
I think he can handle losing this one. It's this next race. I think if he loses this one again, he's going to blow a gasket.
Yeah. Especially track at Homestead. This is his baby, so we'll see what happens with that. But honestly, the main story though was the debut of Hailie Deegan. Eric, I'll start off with you, man. She finishes 13th. She ran inside the top 20 for damn near the entire race. She was as high as 13th, correct? Like she didn't get inside the top 10 straight
I
up.
don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember
think
if she
so.
did, at least not for any significant amount of time.
But yeah, no, amazing and an amazing Xfinity Series debut for her.
It's Stewart Haas equipment. Granted, it's under the SS Greenlight Racing, but it's the same equipment that Cole Custer won in earlier this season. So for her to go out and get this finish, I think that's pretty impressive for her very first race. Keep in mind, this is the same track that I think Danica Patrick finished fourth in, and that got her best finish at the Xfinity Series too. So kind of neat to see her go out the same track that she got her best finish at too.
Yeah, it was a good choice of track. I think even Deegan talked about in her YouTube video that she wanted to go somewhere like a mile and a half where there's a little bit more room to spread out and avoid things if things get hairy, things get dicey in her first start. But not very impressive. Qualified, I think 20th. I think you said that, Darian, and ran inside the top 20 all day long. She's in probably a 5th to 10th place car and finished 13th, like in her debut. And again, with this modern era, she had about 15, 20 minutes of practice. Mm-hmm. She had 2 laps for qualifying, or really 1 lap for qualifying, and she's racing and did a pretty darn good job. So impressive debut. Maybe this is another Harrison Burton type deal where just, the trucks, the beating and banging, the grinding action in the truck series is just not the best place to learn to cultivate your skills. And maybe she'll show up in Xfinity at some point if she goes full time next year and contend for wins consistently. I'm skeptical still because even in trucks, she made her debut also at a mile and a half, Kansas.
And she was
decent. And when she finished like 16th, she was decent.
Solid.
She looked solid. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but first impressions can be misleading, as we saw, 2 years ago at Kansas. So
I haven't heard anything confirmed yet. Does Riley Herbst have another contract with SHR next year, or is he up for?
I don't think anyone knows for sure. I thought Josh Berry and like Justin Allgaier were locked into Xfinity deals, and that just got confirmed this week. So I didn't realize that wasn't already confirmed.
Now it's making me think, okay, who does Monster want for SHR next year?
I could have sworn I saw something last week that he is confirmed to come back. I could be wrong though, so chat verify that for me. But
it wouldn't shock me. I don't know.
Well,
I've lost track.
Monster did said nothing, but also said something. They said they had no comment yet on their NASCAR plans for next year, or if they'll even stay in the sport at all next year. So that's all a question mark right now.
Oh, and Trevor Bailey said Riley Herbst is confirmed in the 98 next year. So yeah.
I hadn't seen that.
With Deegan, I mean, it was nice. I think my thing is now take her to a track that's not a mile and a half. I know she commented and kind of dissed the truck series a little bit by saying it was nice to be out there and have people give you room but still be aggressive.
I mean, he's
but
right.
I liked it. I liked that she was actually able to race and pass people. You don't really see that much out of her in the truck series. But at the same time, one race is just too small a sample size for me to say that she's ready to move up yet.
If they could get her ready for another one, I think it'd be neat to see how she would fare on Martinsville. That's a very different track.
I'd go like Phoenix and try and ease her into it, just because.
I agree. Yeah.
I think if she's at Martinsville, she's gonna get eaten alive and just her car's gonna get torn.
Yeah,
up.
that's true.
So I'd take her to like Phoenix, Homestead, somewhere she still has some room, and then like ease her into those more difficult tracks.
Someone in the chat said take her to Bristol. I was thinking, yeah, it'd be neat, but you got to wait till next September for that.
Yeah, I feel like if you want to ease her into it, maybe don't go full time in Xfinity next year, but obviously have a part-time schedule. I mean, she wouldn't even have to run full time in trucks. I mean, just like spend all your time on your selected races in Xfinity next year and just ease her into it.
I think 10 or 15 Xfinity races are better for her than 22 truck races or 23, whatever it is.
I think at this point, it seems like David Gillen intends to become a Toyota team again. And I just don't see that she's getting enough for her own career advancement with that truck anymore. I think she's basically done all she can in that.
Yeah, and really, I mean, like this started a debate after the race on social media, like, oh, is the truck series, is it hurting young drivers' development? And in my opinion, I feel like it's a case by case basis, because we've seen guys in the truck series go on to progress and they run well there, but then other guys like a Noah Gregson, a Harrison Burton, they they honestly really didn't set the Truck Series on fire when they were in it, and then they move up to Xfinity, and boom, they start winning races. So, in my opinion, it's a case-by-case thing, and hey, maybe Hailie Deegan fits in that category too. But just one start, a very impressive debut, by the way. But we'll have to see what happens with her in the future, though. But yeah, I think she'll do way better with 10 or 15 Xfinity Series races rather than another full-time season in the Truck Series. So that'll conclude talking about the Las Vegas race weekend. We are now at that point in the show where we are at the first Super Chat stage break of the evening. And just a little over an hour. All right, so I will begin reading them and just start it. Hold on. Let me refresh it. Okay. Man, we have a lot tonight. Yeah, thank you guys. All right, in 3, 2, 1, go. Elite Precision 29 with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I don't know if y'all caught what Kyle Busch said in his post race, but he was asked about Joe Gibbs Racing's 200th Cup win and replied with, "It'd be nice to have my ugly face on that 200th win so they could look at it forever."
What a comment.
That's good. No, that's a good one. That's funny. And then Isaac, thank you for the $5 super chat. Why NASCAR Heat 5 is the best recent NASCAR game? They actually gave Kenseth a proper farewell by making him competitive in the 42, unlike reality. Oh, dang.
Oh, well, I didn't even slip that last part in.
Man.
I got the point.
Yeah, you got it. Got it the first time. And then once again, Isaac, thank you for the $2 super chat. NASCAR Heat 5 also made Almirola the best road course racer. LOL.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then searching for grip, NASCAR news. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Hey, Eric, go Yankees. Oh, go Yankees.
It's tied up right now, fourth inning.
Man. Yeah, go Astros, bro. Go Astros. Jupiter Rain.
You don't have to do that, Darian. Don't put your reputation on the line for my Astros.
I'm being nice, man. Jupiter Rain, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. If it were any other driver, zero suspension, like Joey.
Joey. What are they referencing in the Joey case?
I don't know exactly. Did Joey do something and not get suspended for it? Or I'm not sure. Maybe he meant I don't know. I don't know what he was meaning. Maybe you can explain that more with another super chat. Maybe. Mudfire924. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. LOL at hypocritical drivers like Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick. Dang, this is just shitting on the veterans, I see, I guess, in the super chats. Searching for grip NASCAR news. Thank you once again for the $2 super chat. Eric, I love you, but you're a rival tonight. Go Yanks. Yeah, well, hey, you got some Yankees fans.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the Yankees have a giant fan base, so that shouldn't be a surprise.
That is true.
Enter Das with the $5 super chat. NASCAR being consistently inconsistent. What else is new? Also, Eric, the third time is a charm. Yankees headed to the World Series. Sun is gonna be Larson versus Reddick. Oh, Sunday is gonna be Larson versus Reddick. Yeah, I definitely agree with that second part. But
it's actually fourth time is the charm. We wiped y'all out in 2015.
Dang. We got a little sassy there. Okay, I see you. And then Fire Pale 129. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. As a newer fan, the reaction Bubba got makes me disappointed. Oh. He made a mistake, yet everyone wants to go overboard when they don't for other drivers. I mean, yeah.
Some of that's fair. I mean, there are definitely people out there. Yeah. A lot of them are trolls, like Jarrett was saying. But it's the discourse online in the NASCAR world has not been very fun the last few days. I think most people would agree.
Not at all. And then
you got time for one more.
Yep, thank you. And Hunter Nixon Fishing, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Appreciate it. Speaking of great racing with this new car, we are going to Homestead this weekend, a top 2 to 3 mile and a half track among fans. Gonna be fun. Yep, it's gonna be fun. Yep, that is definitely in my top 3. Definitely in my top 3 mile and a half tracks. But I
can't wait. It's the fact that we haven't raced here yet this year. Next gen at Homestead. Like maybe I'm getting my hopes up and I'm gonna be woefully disappointed, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm hoping for a good race.
Yeah, hoping for some spectacular racing. But thank you guys so much for the super chats. We will read the rest at the end of the show. But Hold on, give me a second. Okay, let me pull it up. But we are now at that point in the show where this edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast is brought to you by Lionel Racing, the official diecast of NASCAR. Order the new 2022 diecast of your favorite NASCAR driver now at lionelracing.com or any authorized Lionel retailer. So, fellas, what you guys got? Who wants to start? Anyone could start. Go ahead.
I'll go first. I've got the Homestead Master, even though he's never won here himself. Noah Gragson.
Like it. The rest of us, it looks like, went with Mark Martin theme. I know we aren't really going to talk about it tonight, but he was very unhappy with Roush for not showing up and taking a picture with him at Las Vegas this weekend, and he put out multiple tweets about it. I understand him being disappointed, but my goodness, he is really making sure everybody knows about it. But yeah, I've got I've got this classic throwback. Well, it's not. We've seen throwbacks to this car, but
was the Eagle One product like a sub product of like Valvoline?
Honestly, you're asking the wrong person. I genuinely don't know what this company does. I just like the car.
I got the 2006 AAA insurance scheme that he ran.
Love
this
that
one,
scheme.
Yeah, this one only got ran 1 year because David Reagan had a different scheme for it than next, a little bit different than this one. But this one's always been one of my favorites. Plus, it was like center in one of the biggest controversies of 2006 with a J.J. Yaley at Charlotte. So, but I'll always love this car. Yeah. I think I've actually owned this specific one since 2006. So special to me as well.
Yeah, that Charlotte race was definitely nuts. Every time I host, I'm mirrored, so forgive me, guys, but I have Mark Martin's 2004 Viagra car, and no, it doesn't say visor. It says Viagra, guys. It says, so just like, with Budweiser or, Miller Lite on Rusty Wallace's car, sometimes they would have, the driver's name or, another company's name, but not this car. So I believe this is the same car that won at Dover in 2004 after Casey Kane spun out and crashed in some oil, and Mark Martin ended up beating Tony Stewart to end a long winless streak that season too.
See, what I liked about that scheme is that they had two versions of it, one with white and the other had black. So. Oh
wait, was there a black one? Huh.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I looked at Mark Martin 2004 to be sure, and it's like, yeah, there was one like that also had black. It might have been like year over year difference, but. Oh, cool. That scheme had variation through the years. I believe so. I could be wrong. It has been almost 20 years.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's a spectacular scheme. But yeah. So that'll do it for this segment, the Lionel Diecast read. And also, don't miss Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics Diecast at a Walmart near you. Okay. So now, fellas, we in Goodlettsville, Tennessee right now is currently 46 degrees. We are currently in, what is it called out here, Danny? A freeze warning, something like that. Freeze warning.
Yeah, that's a freeze warning because it's kind of it's abnormally cold for the fall.
Yes. Well, while we have a freeze warning, we don't have a. It's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. For the final time on this channel, I get to do that this season. Jarrett, what do we have on tap for tonight?
Congratulations, buddy. You didn't peek out the mic.
Nice.
Justin Allgaier will return to JRM's number 7 team in 2023. Pretty much they have the entire team set for next year. Rockingham will be beginning their repave in November with the goal of bringing NASCAR back to their facility. They do have that new ownership that's been there a few years that's been really aggressive. So there's that. For those who still are playing NASCAR Heat 5, the DLC has been delayed. So sorry about that to all y'all.
Sucks.
Also, something that's been delayed indefinitely at the moment is the all-electric series, according to Adam Stern, after some of the news that came out about Dodge not coming to NASCAR in the last week or so. But a little bit better news for our resident Alex Bowman fan here. Blake Harris, the current crew chief for Michael McDowell, will be the new crew chief for Alex Bowman and the 48 team in 2023.
Does this mean we're going to have Bowman supremacy next year?
No.
He might
Actually,
run better. He might run better.
I think it's a great signing, honestly.
Yeah.
And a big loss to front row.
And a big loss to McDowell supremacy.
This one kind of came under the radar this week, but Christopher Bell has signed a long-term deal this year with JGR. South Point has said it signed another multi-year deal with Las Vegas Motor Speedway to be the sponsor of the fall race, so that'll be here long-term. Let's hope they're as good as this last week's was. Also, I wanted to point this out. NASCAR's Facebook account had posted about Joey Logano making the championship race in Homestead, Miami this week. So that was kind of
wrong track, y'all. Wrong track.
Just like the rest of Facebook, it's living in the past.
Ty Dillon will be running the number 77 Spire car next year.
Cool.
Denny Hamlin has stated that Toyota will be allowed to make changes to their nose for next season after NASCAR saw that their aero numbers were much worse than all the other OEMs. This was also stated by Jeff Gluck on the Teardown podcast.
Yeah, and I hope somebody asks Hamlin to maybe like give more details on that, because that was kind of surprising, because we heard at the beginning of the year, remember Ford had to change their nose because they were way ahead. Now somehow I guess Toyota fell behind. I don't know how that works. I mean, these cars are supposed to be equal.
Yeah, I think I saw Bozy tweet something that like the numbers showed that Toyota actually was at a disadvantage this year, which, Toyota wasn't.
Whoa.
That's why they had tape on the nose at Pocono.
Another one here. JR Motorsports found a live possum in one of their cars after Las Vegas, and they actually have a plushie one in one of the cars this weekend. So
cute.
Wet tires will likely be used at Martinsville and Phoenix and possibly New Hampshire, as well as others in 2023, with a similar wet track setup to that used at road courses. This isn't to say that they're going to be racing in standing water like at COTA in 2021, but more just that once they dry the track up enough that you can see the surface, kind of like what we saw at like the Charlotte Roval a couple years ago at Watkins Glen. It'll be like that.
It'll hopefully cut the drying process like in half, since we don't have to wait for it to be perfect to go back racing at those tracks. That's good. Cool.
That, and if it's just, a little drizzle, they can still race out in it as long as it's not like terribly raining. Jeremy Clements crew chief Mark Setzer has been suspended one race and fined $25,000. Clements and team have been docked 40 points, all for a body modification found in pre-qualifying tech at Las Vegas.
So he'll probably finish 12th of the 12 playoff teams this year.
And then the last one is some good news, especially for those who were nervous about Homestead's future. I know even one of, many of my friends who go to Homestead, a couple of them were worried about it just because they know the area. Well, the Miami-Dade Board of County Commissions voted yesterday to give NASCAR $300,000 annually in cash from the county-wide general fund and give up to $100,000 annually in-kind services from the Miami-Dade Fire Department for cup races at the Homestead Miami Speedway for this year, next year, 2024, and 2025. Wow. This is reported by Bob Pockrass. So I love that they're giving it in cash.
Cash, I was about to say. Damn,
straight cash,
homie. Bring a suitcase.
Yeah.
How do you pay if you don't write checks, man? Straight cash, homie.
An all-time classic. But yeah. So it's good to see that it'll stay on the NASCAR schedule for quite a while. And for the final time this season on Black Flags Matter, and that'll do it for this edition of the Lightning Round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
We've got a few more stories before we get to our Homestead picks. First, we have to thank our other major sponsor, Forney Industries. Forney offers a full line of welding and plasma cutting machines and metalworking accessories and more. For do-it-yourselfers all the way up to professional metalworkers, Forney has everything you need for your next project. So be sure to shop all of their top-of-the-line products at forneyend.com. I see Blue Jimmy fans got the link in the chat. It's also linked down in the description below. Or look for their logo at an authorized Forney dealer near you.
Yeah, we have such amazing mods, man. They're keeping the chat clean.
I know,
and also
they're hyping the chat,
putting the links and stuff. Really appreciate it, y'all. Yeah.
And hey, click that like button. We're only 5 away from 200. Let's go for 200 likes as we go into this next subject.
Yep, lick the like button, everybody. And yeah, this next subject is for longtime NASCAR fans like us, man. It's tough, man. Kurt Busch announces retirement from full-time driving. What a shame, man. I mean, he was definitely getting up there in age, but definitely we didn't expect it to happen this soon at the beginning of the season. But then as things progressed, started taking a lot of hits with this new next-gen car. Unfortunately, it became pretty obvious, as, weeks went by, when he wasn't coming back, that perhaps the end was in sight. But Eric, I'll start off with you. Let's reflect on his career, man. I mean, is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's two things that are going to stand out about Kurt Busch's career. One, it was a roller coaster on and off the track, personal life, professional life. There were a lot of ups early on, winning a championship for Roush, which has so far been Roush's last championship. They've not won another one since at this point.
That's right.
Also the first year of the chase. So a lot of early highs, some lows, bouncing around from different teams, ultimately going to a back marker team for a year or two. Then he went to Furniture Row. Yeah, then to Furniture Row, which at that point was still starting to get their feet under them, but we're not contender yet. And then back to SHR, where he was winning every year. Ganassi, where he turned that one car around. And now this year, 2311, I think he's clearly been a boost to their performance organization-wise. So the roller coaster that was his career, I think, is inspirational to anyone who maybe isn't where they want to be right now. And I'm not just talking about like in the racing world, just any walk of life. If you aren't where you want to be right now, I think you can look at someone like Kurt Busch, who's risen, fallen, been everywhere in between, and always know that there's potentially better days around the corner. But the second thing I think he'll be remembered for is how great of a teammate he has become. I don't know that I can speak to earlier in his career. I'm sure he was at least a great resource. He knows race cars. He knows how to drive them, but especially later in his career. SHR, I mean, their best year was 2018 when they had all four of their drivers make the round of 8. Kurt Busch was right there in the middle of it. That was probably the very end of his prime. And he left for Ganassi the very next year. And I feel like SHR has not been the same since. He turned that one car around, made them a playoff contender, borderline championship contender the 3 years he was at Ganassi. And then he's come over to 2311. He gets a win. Bubba gets a win. The team looks to be on the right path. He's sticking with them going forward. You ask just about any one of his teammates, especially in recent years, they seem to have nothing but great things to say about Kurt Busch as a coach, a resource, all those types of things. So I feel like those are the two lasting legacies Kurt will have. Obviously, he won a Cup championship and a Daytona 500, won like 30 races, I think. The credentials are there to get him into the Hall of Fame for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think locally, everyone knows how good Kyle is at Bristol, but he could go down as one of the greatest of all time at Bristol too, for that matter. That was one of his best tracks in his career. I think he won there as many times as his brother, I think.
Yeah, and he got his first career Cup Series win there as well in 2002.
See, when I think of Kurt Busch, I think of I'll be real. I think of stuff when like the cameras weren't there. I was lucky enough being in the infield so much as a kid that I got to meet a lot of the drivers. And there's two like major kind of subjects or almost moments that I think of when I think of Kurt Busch. The first one is in 2007. I was, I believe, 9 years old. First time I was at the infield in Chicagoland. I was waiting out at this little area with a couple other kids, just waiting for drivers for autographs on a Saturday night. And he along with Jeremy Mayfield and Carl Edwards, was one of 3 drivers that night that not only stopped and actually talked to us and asked us questions and would, I think he was there for a solid 10, 15 minutes. At 10:30 at night on a Saturday night before a race that the next day, back then they raced a lot earlier in the day. And for me as a fan, that was like something that always stood out. Even though I didn't like what Kurt Busch did on the track, if you remember, only a couple weeks before that is when he almost, I believe that's when he almost ran over, or was like in that little scuffle with Tony Stewart at Dover. But that meant a lot for me as a fan watching and seeing a driver on a personal level like that. And then the other one is for the past 4 or 5 years, every time I'm in the infield and I get to see Kurt Busch, I can actually have a legit conversation about the Cubs with him. Mm-hmm. And I don't, in the NASCAR industry, you don't really find that many Cubs fans in there. So anytime I was able to actually, talk to him about it and have a real conversation, not just like, oh yeah, they're doing pretty good or pretty bad this year, but actually, yeah, not as much recently, but it was really cool. I think I believe that when I was at Gateway, that was the question I asked, is if because he was saying how much he loved coming to St. Louis and he couldn't wait to come back next year. And I asked him, I'm like, so you gonna wear a Cubs hat next year? And he's like, oh, I'm wearing it everywhere here next year, definitely. So I hope he comes back in some way, just in a Cubs hat at Gateway, just to mess with those Cardinals fans.
Yeah, I remember it was at Nashville Super Speedway because we were going to go to a Cubs game the next week. It's the first major league game I'd ever been to. And I asked him, what should I know about going to Wrigley? He just said it was going to be an experience like no other. So that was kind of cool. Oddly enough, Kurt Busch is just maybe timing the races that I was got to go to media work at this year. Kurt Busch was oddly enough the driver who I interviewed the most this year. I noticed looking back at all my videos of driver interviews.
Yeah, Kurt Busch's career, definitely a roller coaster, man. And, there were some parts where I do think, what could have been, when he first started out with Roush Racing, man, it seemed like, the sky was the limit for him. And obviously his rookie season, he really struggled, but that's understandable because he was racing in the freaking Truck Series before Roush moved him up to Cup right away, bypassing the NASCAR Busch Series as it was called at the time. And it just seemed like, man, nothing could stop him there. 2002, he gets paired up with Jimmy Fending and they start winning a ton of races. 2004 wins the championship. And you're like, man, there's nothing can stop these guys. And then, go ahead.
I feel like fans now, especially newer fans, they don't realize how
they don't
hated he was.
No, he was also very hated too. But a lot of fans forget how good he was to start off with. I mean, you talk about Kyle Busch now, but no, he was the man at that time too. But then, towards the end of 2005, he started to have some difficulties, man. With Roush Racing, he had a falling out, was about to go to Penske, and then he was wrongfully detained, by the way. He was wrongfully detained. I still, say that to this day in 2005. I mean, yeah, he did speed, in Phoenix that year, but he wasn't drunk or anything like that. He wasn't over the limit. Nothing like that. And, because of that, he was taken out of that ride. And then, obviously, his time with Penske there, too, you thought there was some potential there. But then that ended on a very sour note in 2011, so much so that it really ruined his reputation as a driver within the industry. Nobody wanted to touch him, except Phoenix Racing. They took a chance on him. They're like, hey, what the heck? Let's do this. Just come drive my car. And Kurt Busch, that's honestly one of my most favorite seasons because seeing him take that car and running it, inside the top 15, top 10 sometimes. 2012 Sonoma.
Top 5.
Yeah, top 5. Yeah. So 2012 Sonoma is one of my all-time favorite Kurt Busch races ever. Being able to take that car, and wasn't there a broken axle or something? Something broke on that car, and he was still able to get a top 2 finish there. So,
yeah.
He was able to pull that. But in my opinion, my all-time favorite Kurt Busch win also took place in 2012 in the Nationwide Series at Daytona. Him getting the win last second, at the last moment, coming to the line, and then seeing his reaction just with his crew guys, and then just his interviews and stuff. It definitely meant a lot to him too. And I mean, I know for some Cup Series drivers, it's like, well, yeah, I won another Xfinity race. Who cares, right? But no, him, he definitely went through a lot at that point. And then really, toward for the rest of his career, he was really a team builder. I mean, you talk about Martin Truex Jr. and Furniture Row Racing, but a lot of people forget 2013. He's the one who brought him to prominence, man. He brought him to prominence. Their first chase appearance or playoff appearance, as we call it now. Then 2014. Go ahead.
Well, David Bell in the chat with the
Snow
$2
Angel.
super chat. Yeah,
Yep.
Kurt in 2006 Snow Angel win at Bristol.
Yeah, all-time favorite celebration too as well. But yeah, no, and then goes to Storehouse Racing, helps develop that 41 car, and really that 41 car hasn't really been that good since he's left. I mean, if I'm just being honest here too, and then ending out his career with 2311, and thankfully he got his final Cup Series win of his career. Well, I mean, he's retired from full-time racing, so you never know. He might win in one of his part-time starts.
I think one of my favorite Kurt Busch wins was 2010, the Coke 600. That was a very nice paint scheme that they had for him that year too. It had it was kind of similar to what Keselowski used when he went over to first drive the 2, but it had that glass bottle pouring instead of the aluminum bottle or whatever Brad had on it. But I thought that was a really, cool paint scheme and a very good like emotional win for Kurt to win that one too.
Yeah, I mean, just him battling through all the adversity stuff. I mean, like, it really showed that, like, hey, look, these drivers, I mean, they're humans just like us. I mean, Kurt Busch was going through, you know, a lot of the same issues, you know, mentally and stuff that a lot of us go through too, but it's just not, you know, presented on, you know, such a public, you know, stage like, you know, like his situation was, you know, and it's great to see him, you know, be, you know, at the beginning of his career was viewed as, you know, one of the most hated drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series as a whole, and then towards the end, he's one of the most lovable ones. So, yeah, good to see. In my opinion, a first ballot Hall of Famer, without a doubt.
It's kind of like in wrestling world, John Cena was very hated, and now he's loved since he's gotten out of wrestling. So but very different sports though.
And also though, in conclusion too as well, this is truly the end of an era. He was the last active driver to race with Dale Sr. Yeah. Dale Sr. gave him the bird, by the way, in his Cup debut. Or not in his Cup debut, in the 2001 Daytona 500 too. So, yeah, before he tragically passed away. But yeah, it's these Winston Cup drivers, man, that, you know, we grew up watching, man. Like, who's left now? Kevin Harvick? And is that it?
I feel like once Harvick retires, the generation the four of us grew up with will kind of be officially gone. Because I see like Busch, Hamlin, they entered in the mid 2000s. Now that Newman's gone, Kurt's gone, at least full time. Harvick maybe has one more year. It sounds like.
Yeah,
that's truly going to be the end.
After Kevin Harvick, I think the next closest one is Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
So, or Hamlin or Truex. Hamlin and Truex are the next ones.
Well, because Kyle Busch came in 05, and those two were 06.
When did Truex show up? Didn't he show up in 04?
He was part-time 05.
He had some part-time stuff.
Yeah.
But Kyle Busch was part-time in 04, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so as far as the Winston Cup guys, it's about to be the end of an era, you know, next year officially. So, but yeah, Kurt Busch, without a doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, and hopefully he enjoys stepping away from a full-time racing.
A lot more Cubs games in his future.
There you go. A lot more time. Yeah, a lot more Cubs games. Now moving on. Well, this is weird. A 40-race NASCAR season? No, I am not trolling. That was, in fact, reported by NASCAR reporter Lee Spencer. He had said that.
She said it was a rumor.
She said, my bad, excuse me. She said that it was a rumor, of course, that NASCAR was looking into 40 races as well as 2 exhibitions. I'll put a poll out, but I'll ask you guys first. Is that too much? Or?
I hope there's at least 2 bye weeks if they do that.
Well, I brought this up with Darian when we were talking about it over the weekend. And if they were to do that, saying that, let's say they don't do midweek races or doubleheaders, if they're doing that plus a bye week, the season ends the first weekend of December. And then starts, if you count the Clash, the first weekend of February, meaning they literally just have 2 months off. You know, they basically have 9 weeks off.
If this happened, I'm just asking you guys, do you think that we would basically just do this show year round?
It's certainly possible.
Basically take a Christmas and New Year's break. That's about it.
I think 40 would be ridiculous. I didn't hear the clip where this rumor originated from, because I'll be honest, I just don't believe it. This might be the least believable thing I think I've heard in the last year in NASCAR. There's been a lot of random and wacky stuff, but the idea of adding races when you have basically the entire industry screaming about only having 1 off weekend a year, now they have to race on Easter. There's just no way, unless there's something they're going to pull out of their butts where it's like, oh no, we're going to do like 8 doubleheader weekends. But even that just does not seem realistic with how stretched thin these teams already are. I don't see any chance in hell they race 40 times next year. Maybe it's 40 weeks. Maybe it's 40 weeks and they only do, you know, and they build in a couple more off weekends. Maybe if they go international or something. Phelps has said they'll be aggressive. Maybe this is what he meant. Aggressive in terms of we're just never going to stop racing.
I'm just throwing this out there. There are some people in the Midwest, specifically Chicago and Road America, who are saying,
See, I put this in my video. My theory is that this is with the RTA and teams and tracks and NASCAR, but basically like the RTA versus all, I feel like NASCAR is going to start putting stuff out there to give that public pressure for the next TV deal to be like, see, I mean, you want this stuff, because that's where when Lee Spencer was talking about it, it would be an effort to get more TV money to the teams. And I feel like we're going to start hearing more crazy things pop up that are in an effort to give more money to the teams. And it's, hey, you don't like it? Well, they're asking for more money, that we have to do these things that people aren't going to like if the teams are going to get the money they want. And I feel like that's an angle NASCAR is going to play with it. Because let's be real, the media hears different things from NASCAR, and different things get out through the garage so easily. NASCAR can slip different rumors out there with no challenge whatsoever.
I think you might have to be making a point there that this is every other sport. NFL and the NBA keep expanding their playoffs. They want more playoff games. They want more playoff teams. The NFL just added a game to their regular season. Every league is trying to make more of their product, because more product usually equals more money. So you could be right that NASCAR is maybe dangling this because they're hearing from the TV networks that they want more content certain weeks of the year. And NASCAR, knowing the teams wants more money, they feel that they have leverage. Hey, if you want more money, more races. I don't want 40 races. Like, screw that. Holy cow.
That's too much.
We've talked, I think 36 is borderline. I think if you have 40 races, I think you should just race year round and just build in like 2-week break here, 2-week break there. And literally season ends December 30th, season begins January 12th. I don't know. Like that should be what they do at this point. Cause if you're going to race 40 times, that is wild to me. I can't imagine that.
For me, I watch NASCAR year round, and then I enjoy that little bit of time where it's not on, because then I watch the Tennessee Vols and the Tennessee Titans. I like that time where I can focus on my two football teams, and then really I'm back to NASCAR. I appreciate where the season lies right now, that it gets done right as the football season's getting really good.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, too, NASCAR fans, we also watch other sports, too, man. I'm a diehard Rams fan. Jared's a diehard Vikings fan.
Well, that's the thing. I think these networks want something that can compete against football during football season. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And they know that running a NASCAR race in October against NFL Sunday, isn't going to be best for NASCAR's ratings, but it's still going to pull in 2 or 3 million viewers. And that's great for the network to say, hey, we didn't have NFL. We went up against the NFL and got 3 million viewers. Like, that's still something I think these networks value, which is maybe why they're saying, hey, yeah, let's still end the season in late November. Let's go back to that, compete more with the NFL so we can compete in ratings for more Sundays. Like, that could be where it's all coming from. I think it's good for the networks. I don't think it's good for the health of the industry, as far as the teams. More money, great. I guess if this is what makes the difference between getting another $1 billion deal or $8 billion deal and another like half of that, I mean, then you're stuck. But this isn't a good position to be in my opinion.
But yeah, go ahead.
Even the drivers aren't really, like, they're not exactly calling for less races, but just same amount, just the same amount more compacted earlier in the year. And you already have where nonstop you have people who are in the industry saying that they're getting burnt out, they're having to quit, they're having to cut back, and this is only going to make that even worse. And NASCAR at this point, like, this could probably work 15 to 20 years ago. Like, they could sustain it then when the money was there. But the money, it's just, I don't see how it's feasibly possible to do this without affecting the product more.
You'd have to get more money, because say they get the same exact amount of money they're getting now, but now you spread out over 40 races instead of 36. That's actually less money per weekend. I don't see how that's actually healthy for the team.
The only way this would work, I mean, for the TV deal and stuff like that, I mean, for NASCAR, to get a bang for their buck and stuff is, yeah, if they get way more money. But then I'm thinking about the people in the NASCAR industry, like, they would revolt at the idea of 40 races.
I just worry about the crews. I'm sorry to keep talking over people, but like, we hear people, and I don't know, some of it sounds occasionally like they're exaggerating a bit, but we hear that it's harder and harder to hire people to work on the cars, work for the teams that are willing to travel that much, because the money's maybe not as good as it should be. And that's a lot of work year round, a lot of travel year round. And if you're not a superstar driver who can afford a private jet back and forth between your house and the racetrack, or can afford to bring your whole family with you for most of the year, if you're not one of those guys, if you're one of the littler people, so to speak, this is a grind. And I just think adding more weeks and not giving them more off weekends I just don't like that. That doesn't seem healthy to me.
And if you keep the same format, which I think that'll, like, I think it'll be the question is it with the points format. If it doesn't change at the new deal, then I think that's what you got long term. But with the current format, you'd have a 30-week regular season, which we already pushed with winners. 30 weeks in, we're bound to have over 16, so there's going to be a lot of running into that. Then you also have to look at the fact that, the 30th race this season, I want to be completely sure, I believe it was Texas, which is like 4 weeks into the NFL season. The biggest downturn of the season will be right before your big hype up of the playoffs. You're probably going to have to move Daytona into September, which is going to be over, you're going to have all these different problems all together. I don't see how you do this and win out of it. I see that, like, if this happens, this is NASCAR once again bending the knee to the networks, and changes that seem to be corresponding with the networks haven't exactly been in NASCAR's best interest over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The only way I could see this being justified is if, 36 to a 40-week schedule is the difference between a $10 billion and a $15 billion or $20 billion contract. If it's that big of a jump because the networks really want these weeks in the fall, maybe it's worth it. You can pay everyone a little bit more. Maybe it's worth it, but it would have to be something significant like that. It can't be like just to get the same amount of money. You just can't spread people that thin.
I will guarantee you, though, if it's 40 races plus 2 exhibitions, you're going to see races being streaming only, whether it's on Peacock or on an Amazon or on whatever the hell Fox will have. Like, for them to pay that much, the networks have to be the ones that win out of it. It can't be NASCAR that wins out of it. Yeah. That's what I worry about with it.
Yeah. Well, right now, again, no need to worry right now. It's just a rumor. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, just want to emphasize it's just a rumor. But as for the poll, the chat agrees with me on this one too. Is it too much? And 79% of you agree as well. So yeah, but again, it's just a rumor. So we'll see how it develops in the future for sure. Now moving on, Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart is having some NASCAR tensions at the moment. Stewart has said that he doesn't even want to be at the NASCAR tracks, but he has to these final few weeks for some sponsorship obligations. And he's also having a bit of a riff with his partner too, co-owner Gene Haas. He wants Cole Custer in the 41, but Tony Stewart prefers Ryan Preece. Eric, you start us off. What are your thoughts on that? Or Danny, you said you talked. You start us off.
Danny's.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I haven't been paying attention enough in the NHRA world. How is his team doing over there? Because I feel like now at this point, if he can get that lined up going the right way, he's got so many other like business ventures. I feel like I would not be surprised if Stewart eventually says, I got too many other things to worry about. I'm leaving.
I don't know how they're doing performance-wise, but they seem to be front runners usually in their little drag racing class.
Because it just feels like, Tony is definitely the kind of guy, when he left Joe Gibbs Racing to go start his own team, it basically seemed like it wasn't going to the point that he wanted it to be anymore, and that's why he left to go do his own thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, now even his own thing is not going the way he wants it to go, and Tony always and never changes in any way. He could easily go off and do his own thing. That's why he, partially helped start SRX, I think.
Yeah.
He's an emotional guy, and he's known to make brash decisions. See, he just yanked Eldora off the schedule when he found out about Bristol Dirt. I mean, so, there's no telling what Tony Stewart might do. I'm not going to speculate that he's going to do something major, like, basically drop his half of SHR. I don't even know how that would work. I don't know the red tape involved in that. I want to narrow in more on the, he wants Ryan Preece in the 41. Gene Haas wants to keep Custer. This is one of those weird situations where I might actually find myself agreeing more with Gene Haas that I'd keep Custer. Not because Cole Custer is better than Ryan Preece. I think right now Ryan Preece is better in a vacuum than Cole Custer, or at least I think he should get the shot because Custer, especially the last 2 years, has been a woeful disappointment. The thing is, SHR needs drivers, and they've been unable to attract major free agents the last few years. They lost out on Larson. I don't even know if they made an offer. Ford didn't sound like they would let him. They lost out on Kyle Busch. Not sure if they were ever even a finalist. Tyler Reddick's going to Toyota. So major free agents the last few years have not picked SHR, have not ended up with their team. So you got to keep your young guys. And I know Cole Custer's been disappointing, but just a few years ago, he won 7 Xfinity races in a season and almost won the championship. You can't give up on him just yet when you don't have someone else in the pipeline ready to replace him. Riley Herbst isn't ready. Zane Smith, if he's even an option, I think he's under contract with Front Row. He's not ready. Haley Deegan's not ready. And with Harvick and Almirola both expected to leave probably in the next year, it sounds like, based on what Gene Haas was telling Bob Pockrass before the race, you need young guys. And I know Cole Custer's not great, but he's who you got. I think you got to keep Preece on the bench if you can. I saw or heard on his podcast this week, Dale Jr. said that Preece may be entertaining offers from other manufacturers. I thought that relationship with Ford and SHR was a little tighter. If that's the case, then that might give Stewart a little more power here. Maybe you do got to give Preece the option so he doesn't get away. But assuming you have Preece still in-house, give him a seat in 2024, keep Custer next year.
Well, so I agree about the Custer one just because the money stuff, all that, keeping stability in some way when you have 2 older drivers. But when you would look as well, past next year, there's not too many free agents, not too many that are like unstable when it comes to contract situations. But you got Preece as an option, but there's 2 main people you could sign who are younger, really good performance, and are only on 1 year, left on their deals, at least according to Jayski. We know he has a concussion. We don't know how that's going to affect his performance, next year. Alex Bowman, if they elect to move on after 23, would be a great option because he's a talented young driver who has shown great flashes through his career of running up front. And then, interestingly enough, Daniel Suarez only has 1 year left on his deal. So if you wanted to bring him back, especially if Tony Stewart is less in the picture or whatnot, because we don't know how Smoke is on all that, he could be an option too if the stuff with Trackhouse doesn't work out as well. So SHR has options. It's just if they're willing to elect to actually use those options.
Yeah. Cole Custer, he obviously has, the money part covered. The talent part, though, you obviously have to give it to Ryan Preece, but this is a business at the end of the day, and I don't know. I feel like maybe Tony Stewart has faith that the team would be able to find some sort of sponsorship for Preece, but then Haas, he feels otherwise, So, and also too, Cole Custer, he has ties to that team too through his dad. I think his dad also is a higher up within the team.
Haas is gonna decide. Essentially that 41 is his. He's gonna decide who he wants in that Haas car.
Yeah, but also too, hey, you don't want to make Tony Stewart too angry because, like Eric said, he will drop stuff just like that. So, he's a very emotional guy too. So. Yeah, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll see if that progresses any further. But, yeah, until anything happens, it's just speculation at this point. So we'll see what happens with that. But, yep, we are now at that point in the show where we go over the race weekend preview, the Homestead Miami Speedway preview. We have 3 races in total this weekend. So if you love Homestead, get ready. We're going to see 3 spectacular races, I believe. So let's go over the Truck Series race first. The Baptist Cancer Care 200. I can't speak. I'm sorry about that. The Baptist Health Cancer Care 200. Total of 134 laps. The start time is 1 p.m. Eastern on FS1, and you can also listen to it on MRN. The defending race winner is Kyle Busch back in 2020. The Xfinity Series race, the Contender Boats 300, a total of 200 laps. The start time is 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on USA, and you can also listen to it on MRN. The weather for this race is 84 degrees, some showers, 40% chance of rain, and the defending race winner is Myatt Snyder. That's right, he did win that. Yeah, because the last time they ran was spring 2021. Yeah,
it was in the spring. By the way, I just want to say, people in the chat was saying that Eric surrendered. We won.
I had a tickle in my throat, needed some water. Yeah. You cannot defeat me that easily, chat.
And then the Cup Series race is the Dixie Vaca 400, a total of 267 laps. The start time is 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. You can also listen to it on MRN. The weather for that Sunday's race is 86 degrees, afternoon thunderstorms, a 40% chance of rain. The defending race winner is William Byron.
Sounds like Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely Miami for you too. The first time I was in Florida though, I was like, oh my gosh, it's raining, and then IDK was like, dude, it'll stop in 5 minutes, and literally less than 5 minutes it stops. So yeah.
Well, they do have lights. So
yep, they have lights though. Yes, no need to ask Bob. We all know this. It has lights. So if we need to, just wait for the rain to pass, we can do that as well. But let's get over to the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast for this weekend's Cup Series race. Tyler Reddick enters this weekend as the odds-on favorite at plus 700. Not really a shock. Denny Hamlin is plus 800. Ryan Blaney plus 900. Kyle Larson and Joey Logano round out 4th and 5th at plus 1,000. As for the best of the rest, Chase Elliott plus 1,000. Ross Chastain plus 1,000. Kyle Busch plus 1,200 along with Christopher Bell and William Byron. Now, as for the underdogs, we have some very interesting picks here. Noah Gragson is plus 3,000. Yeah, that's some better odds than some of these other full-time guys on this list. Austin Cedric plus 4,000. AJ Allmendinger plus 5,000. Brad Keselowski plus 8,000. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rounds out the underdog segment at plus 10,000. Now, before we get into the pick points, of course, the NWP Fantasy League, the overall standings is looking like it's pretty much about to get wrapped up here. Trevor Sports 98, congrats. I think you have the overall league standings on lock, as he has well over a 200-point lead over Toyota Tough in second place. Third place is 48 Nation. Fourth place is RGP Racing 2. And in fifth place, Daniel Baldwin. Danny, you're in the top 5 in overall standings,
Whoa.
man. Did you know that?
I did not know I made it up to the top 5. When did that happen?
Yeah, this week apparently, man. Yep, you passed
I
halfway
guess,
Motorsport. Yeah.
Yeah, I tied for 4th at Las Vegas. I see that in the standings now, so I got me
Yeah.
a good run.
Congrats, man. Now, really quick, the playoff standings. Adam Cub Racing, he's pretty much had the first place in playoff league standings on lock. Second place is Trevor Sports 98. So, Trevor, you without a doubt had the best season, no matter what league, when you combine the two. And then third place is Larson Fan 5. And then, once again, Daniel Baldwin inside the top 5 in P4 in the playoff standings.
I don't know what happened. My wife was up there. Now I passed her there.
Yeah. No, she fell back to 6th place. And then rounding out the top 5 is Mahaffrey Motorsports. Wow.
I'm like the balls. I'll just keep quietly raising up.
Yeah, just keep raising up. And then speaking of pick points, I keep going down for me, unfortunately. But chat, you guys are in a pretty good position right now. You currently have the points lead. Eric, who had the points lead for most of the season, is now minus 15. It's all good, Eric. At least you have the Astros.
I gained 4 points.
Hey,
I gained 4 points.
You gained something, though. So, hey, the season's
If
not
I do
over.
that, I need to gain like 5 points to a week to tie them, I guess. But I'm close.
Yeah.
We're setting a decent pace.
Hey, season's not over, man. Yep, still got a shot. But Danny,
I feel good about my picks this weekend.
But Danny is in third. He is minus 48. Jarrett's in fourth, minus 55. And I am in bum bleeping last at minus 64.
I want to say this before we go into picks. I've seen them already start to collaborate to pick the same as Eric. So I propose that we, as in Danny, myself, and Darian pick, then get the chat pick, and then Eric's pick, so we don't have any tampering going on.
Yes.
See,
Chat.
I propose that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I
That's
like
only
that
fair.
too.
The leader has to go first. That's what I was doing all year long. Now the chat, you guys are the leader. You get to go first.
We're going to keep it
well,
fair.
ahead of me, at least.
Yeah, we're going to keep it fair.
All right. Okay. That's good. That gives me time to think a little bit more about my cup pick.
Yes. And also, I just moderated Claudia. So, hi, Claudia, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, been a while. Been a long time in the making. But, hey, let's get the pick. Let's get the Homestead Miami Speedway race picks going.
So I guess that means I go first now, right?
Yep. Let's start off with the Truck Series winner. Danny, who will win the Truck Series race?
You know what? I'm going to go with a guy we've talked a little bit about on the show already today. I'm going to go with Ryan Priest to win this one.
Oh, yeah. He's in the field.
I didn't realize Priest is in the field.
That's right. He's in the field.
He's in the 17, right? Let me just make sure.
He is in the 17.
That's
That's
right.
what I thought.
Interesting.
Well, I'm going to go, and by the way, I find it funny they say I'm rigging it, even though that's literally
That's
what we're going
fair.
against.
That's fair, fair, y'all. Come on.
I'm going to go with the guy who's steadily been improving on the mile and a half all season. I was at a mile and a half win of his this season at Kansas. I'm going John Hunter Nema Truck.
Nema
Truck. And I will be going third. I'm going to go with the 38 of Zane Smith.
Let's see what the chat got.
I'm saying a lot of John Hunter.
Yeah.
I think they're going John Hunter.
Yep, I'm seeing a lot of 4s so far. So give him John Hunter.
Oh, interesting. I thought they were going to pick Zane. Okay, so that makes it easy for me. I'm going to pick Zane. I was going to pick Zane all along. I was actually thinking I might have to pick John Hunter to try and outbalance them, but no, I get to go with the guy I wanted to go with. I'll go with Zane.
Nice.
All right.
Nice. All right. So now moving on. Who is your Xfinity Series winner? Picks Danny. You go first.
He finally does it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I picked Gregson after so many losses at Darlington and last year, and he ended up winning. So I think the same thing's going to happen this time. Gregson's finally going to get that dub that he deserves at Homestead.
I'm going to go with Noah Gragson as well.
I think the
chat's still picking up, but I think they're leaning towards Noah as well.
Oh yeah.
Let me update
That's
it
fair.
one more time just to be sure. Yep. Noah Gragson. Yeah.
That's fair,
chat.
Gregson.
I'm gonna go Gregson as well. This is one where I can't pick somebody else and lose points on this one. Like that's just I'll take the no gain. I don't want to lose points by not picking Gregson. He's gotta win one of these things, right?
This is a second week in a row. Everybody picked Gregson.
Yeah.
Everyone's joking. Is David Starr on the entry list? Is he racing in the
Just make sure he's not in the field,
07?
right?
No, Timmy Hill's in the 13 this week.
Okay.
So who's isn't David Starr?
Is there a Whataburger car? Is that in the field?
Let's hope. Star's usually in the 08. Yeah, he's in the 08 this week. David Starr is.
Yep. Just stay out the way.
Fingers
David.
crossed.
Yep. Stay out the way. All right. So now to the Cup Series picks. Danny, you start us out. Who's gonna suck this weekend at Homestead?
You know what? Jarrett was saying that he's worried about him. I can never really remember this track being a great track for him either. And I'm going to say Chase Elliott is my pick to suck this weekend.
I'm going to go safer, and I looked at all the numbers and average finishes today of Cup drivers at Homestead, and I felt really safe with Ty Dillon being my pick. Now I say that, he'll probably get a top 10.
I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. Hasn't really been his year.
It looks like they're going with Almirola.
Oh, yeah. They're going to do IDK scarred them for the entire season at least. We'll see if it progresses.
I'm waiting for them. I'm waiting for them to pick Bubba to win. I'll go on that note. I'll just go John Hunter. I know everyone's picking him to win. I think he'll be great in the truck race. But I think Cup race, he hasn't raced Cup since he was full time a couple of years ago.
2020, yeah.
New car.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay. So, suck picks out of the way. Danny, you start us off once again. Who is your underdog for the Cup Series race at Homestead?
I don't even know if he can be considered underdog at this point, but you know what? I'm still going to put him as an underdog because I don't think he's going to win. I think he's going to come really close. I'm going to say Tyler Reddick for my underdog.
I'm going to go with Gregson. Noah Gregson will be the underdog. He ran 11th this past week at Las Vegas, which isn't like his greatest track. Now you have a track that he's really good at with a fast team, with the 48 team. I could see Noah Gregson getting a top 5, honestly, out of this race if things go right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Austin Cindric. I think he's got something up his sleeve.
Chat's looking like they're going Noah.
I was gonna go Noah as well. I know this isn't for points, so it doesn't really matter. But I want to see what Gregson can do. It's funny. He's never won a race here in Xfinity, and yet we're all like, he's a real threat to win this Cup race. Wasn't he? Forgive me, I'm distracted. The Astros just hit back-to-back home runs, but I'm distracted. Did somebody mention that he was top 5 at Michigan for much of the Cup race there earlier this summer?
That's right.
That's not really that similar to Homestead, but they're kind of sort of intermediates.
It's still a good run, though. Yeah, still a good run. But okay.
Well, Gregson's a good pick.
Yep. So the chat and Eric are going with the 48 of Gregson. And now for the main event. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Homestead in the Cup Series this weekend? Danny?
If you notice, there's a reason I didn't pick the 48 as the underdog, and that's because I think he's actually going to do it. I think they're going to show up good speed. I think Noah will have a chance that he probably won't get too often in the 42 next season. I think he's going to take advantage of this and go win a cup race.
That's a good point about next year. I like it.
Right,
Wow.
Derek.
And become the 20th winner of the NASCAR Cup Series.
Before Truex or Blaney.
After a pick like that, how do you walk around, man? Damn. I'm going a little bit safer here. I talked about his 76-point lead on everybody else going into Vegas at the 1.5 miles. I think he's going to be really good here this weekend. I'm going to go Ross Chastain as my pick.
Danny, your pick is not too much of a shock to me. The only thing I'm shocked
Are you
about is
serious?
because I thought I would be the only one to pick him too. Noah
Are you
Gragson. I'm
serious?
gonna go with him as well. Let's
Guys,
do it.
we're trying to get people to respect us on this show.
Darian is on the couch. He needs
Yeah,
to swing for
why
the
not?
fences.
Yeah,
but do you know how many points back I am? 48.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going for it. Just like I did a Bell at the Roval, I'm gonna skyrocket up with Gregson.
It's gonna be a make or break weekend for us both. That's for sure. But,
Who is the chat picking? They're kind of. I feel like
I'm
there's
seeing
a lot of Chastain.
I'm seeing a lot of 1 and 5.
See a lot of Larsons and Chastains, which sucks because those are my top 2 picks. Let me show you my paper. I literally have both written and scratched out.
You can't pick until we have a definite answer from them.
No, I don't want to now.
You gotta
I can't. I didn't think they'd put Larson. I figured they'd come down to like Reddick or Bell or somebody. I didn't expect them to literally pick the 2 guys I was going to pick.
Do we give him a poll or do we wait until we see?
I give him a poll between a 1 and a 5.
1 and the 5.
Pull him out, and Eric chooses the other.
Okay, so a 1.
Yeah, we'll
Cool
do it
with
that
that,
way. I'll
All
do
right.
that. Yeah, I'll pick the other one.
Right.
In the name of competition and fairness.
So think of this. Think of it like this, chat. Who do you want Eric to have?
All right, let me pull it up. It was the 1 in the 5, correct?
1 and the 5.
Okay.
And remember, guys, I had Larson last week. That bit me in the butt. So
I know.
How about this? We'll let it go until we're done with the final super chat. How about that?
Okay, you have to stay tuned for my final pick and your final pick, chat.
Okay, so while that's going on, let's end out the super chat reads for tonight. The final super chat stage break of tonight and of the season on my channel, of course. All right, so let me pull it up really quick.
But while you're doing that, remember that next week will be on Thursday night on Eric's channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right. We will be Thursday night because Wednesday night we'll be doing our second annual Groovy Hollow iRacing event for charity. If you missed it earlier today on my channel, I posted the sort of reveal trailer, give you a little background into the storyline for this year's event, but it's going to be exciting. If you were there last year, we had the mystery driver revealed. It was Josh Berry driving the Halloween machine who took home the victory. We got some surprises in store for this year's show as well, but that will be Wednesday night. So the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, credit to these guys for being flexible with their schedule. I really appreciate it.
Hey,
we're going to go live Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
I gotta say, I was honestly glad that you had this going on because that's actually me and Claudia's 3-year wedding anniversary. So,
Congratulations.
I was borderline not going to be on the show anyways if it's going to be on Wednesday. So,
which would have been understandable.
Congratulations, man. All right, so let's finish.
God,
up.
it's almost 50-50 in the poll right now.
It's close,
My goodness.
It's close. We'll give him some time, though, while I read some super chats. Let's start off once again. Bengal Steel with the $2 super chat. This week shows there is still racism in NASCAR. Yeah, from parts of the fan base. Yeah, no, we've known that for a little while. But, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that, unfortunately. Alex, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Fitting how 73 years to the day, the 22 won the first championship with Red Byron. The 22 wins the race. Whoa! That is interesting.
They pulled that stat out of nowhere. Wow.
Hey, Alex did the research. He went deep into the history books there. Hey, good job, Alex. Appreciate it. Movement. Hey, what's up, Movement? Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Been a Bell fan since 2016. That one hurt at Vegas. Yeah. It hurt me in the pick points, too. I was like, dang, but hey, it is what it is.
Bummer.
Then Oscar Reyes, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I like Bubba, but man, He just had to wreck Bell. Yeah, that sucks, man. Had to take out a fellow Toyota driver. Ross Chastain, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Personally, I would have gone with a worse penalty, but NASCAR was in a lose-lose situation. Too heavy of a penalty, and Twitter thinks NASCAR is racist. Too light of a penalty, and Twitter thinks NASCAR is too woke. Well, I don't know if NASCAR really cares all that much about what Twitter thinks, though. I don't know about that.
In this case, I think they probably tried to just ignore that because they knew they wouldn't please everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And Shorty PJM, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Part 1 of 2. Okay, ... Huge Bubba Wallace fan. Not at all defending his right hook. That's always wrong. I agree fully on his suspension, and I hope and am also glad Larson's okay. All right? Question mark. In this racing aspect, Larson's always, and then you have the poop emoji. And then this is the second part. He sent another $10 super chat. Thank you once again. The amount of times he runs guys up the wall. Kurt Busch at Kansas, 1. Brad ×2 last year, and then as well as Chase Elliott and etc. He's had general retaliation coming for a while now. Relearn your craft, champ. # year of the Jolo. Oh. There was a mouthful to say there.
The criticism of Larson is fair. He has made, I think, more over-aggressive mistakes. And even look back at the Clash when he just wrecked Haley for no reason. He's had his low moments this year that I feel like don't get talked about that much because people are still riding the high of 2021. But like they said, as they acknowledged, it doesn't justify what Bubba did. But, it's something to keep in the back of our minds. If Larson gets into trouble in the last few weeks of this year, we can look back at this incident and many others as times he's roughed people up.
Yeah. And then Bagel Still, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Hosafar and Gregson, 2 white drivers, 0 suspensions. Shake my head. Oh, gosh. Hey, look, man. I ain't trying to make this a whole race thing, but look, eventually NASCAR had to put their foot down, and unfortunately, Bubba Wallace was, he had to be made an example of, man. I don't think it has anything to do with race, though, but hey.
I think the difference is Gregson was at a slow road course. Hocevar, while there definitely should have been a penalty, was at a short track without a dog leg. Bubba did it at the worst possible spot at arguably the worst possible track to do it. So,
but at least,
I think that's the difference.
At least on this show, we keep the same energy with every single driver. With Gregson, we were like, we think he should be suspended. Hocevar, we thought he should have some time off too. So at least with our show, we keep that same energy with everybody. Just saying. Edible Giraffe 59, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I didn't even open Twitter. How bad is it? Oh boy.
Honestly, never go on Twitter in general.
It depends on where you go. If you know what to avoid, it's not the worst, but it's sometimes hard to avoid it. It's like it's a minefield. Literally.
Tread lightly. That's all I'll say. Hunter Kendall, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Thoughts on Blake Harris joining Hendrick? That was, in my opinion, a very under-the-radar signing that didn't get enough attention, in my opinion. I think he's really going to help out Bowman next year.
I think he'll help Bowman. It's just big because that's a contract year for not only Bowman, but for Ally. When Ives announced he was leaving, I'm like, okay, I know Bowman and Earnhardt fans have some mixed opinions on him, but he's been steady there for a while. The last thing you want going into an important year like this is turmoil or turnover. At least they're bringing in someone who, what I think is remarkable, sorry to go off on this tangent, Blake Harris has only spent 1 year as a crew chief. He was not a truck crew chief, not an Xfinity crew chief. This is his rookie season as a crew chief. Yes, he was a car chief for a while. He was on Truex's championship team, but he'd never been a crew chief until this year. He even missed 4 races because they had a loose wheel, and he's already getting the promotion to Hendrick. So he must be doing something right. Maybe they found they're like, what's the Rams coach name? Sean McVay.
Yep, their boy
young phenom, big brain guy. I don't know.
Yep, their boy wonder, their boy genius. Joshua Gray with the $5 super chat. I guess the penalty is fair, but NASCAR had the chance to set an example months ago with other drivers. Just saying. Yeah, they did.
It's tough because when they did make an example, like they punished Byron, a separate appeals panel overturned it.
Yeah.
So NASCAR's in a tough spot.
They have people out from under them, just basically just John, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Jeff Burton was so mad when Wallace sent Larson into the wall, And rightfully so. I think Bubba's mental health got the best of him, but that's no excuse. Yeah, I mean, hey,
it's tough because he's in charge of the driver's advisory council, leads that, and their whole thing this year has been safety.
Burton's also one of those drivers. I talked about what Ricky Craven said on his Facebook post this week, and he's another one of those drivers that grew up in that same period where they had to see people they raced against, die from racing related to injuries, and so they know how dangerous the sport is, and they don't want to see any of these younger guys risk that.
Gavin Adcock with the $5 super chat. I hate that we never predict whether NASCAR will enforce a penalty in a situation like this. Everything is too vague. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair super chat. Jupiter Rain with the $2 super chat. If Elliott did that, there would be no booze. Why Bubba? Well, I don't know. He would get criticized a lot, though. At least from us.
Chase Elliott, as much as he has fans, he has people who's going to boo me.
He's got some loud haters. You'll run into him.
And then Muffire, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Elliott collapsing as he always does. No clutchness. Do y'all forget he won a championship?
2 years in a row.
Yeah, do y'all forget he won a championship?
He won that championship based on his clutchness, actually.
He literally won 3 of the last 5 races that year. God.
Just trolling, man. And then Luca with the $2 Canadian super chat. And then Luca with the $2 Canadian super chat. It said the message has been deleted, but hey, thanks for the money. Appreciate it. And then Next Gen Nitro with the $5 super chat. Where's Michael Marutz's caution record video, Darian? Oh yeah, did he break that? I thought Fly Guy broke that. Hey, someone sent me the link too. I might have to do a follow-up video on that, but that might be that might be one of my off-season videos. Yeah, we'll see. Jupiter Rain with another $2 super chat. Elliott is the most overrated driver. Y'all know that. And then he has the mouse.
That's so stupid. No, it's no.
This is becoming the new Boo Harvick.
Yeah.
Lisa hate Harvick.
Get some original comments.
Ooh.
Taylor Stewart with the $5 super chat. I think Darian needs to join everyone else and grow a beard. No, the hell I don't. I tried that.
We were literally talking about this at dinner last night.
No. I look like a wannabe chia pet. I've tried it. It stops all the way up to here. It's just not my thing, man. It's not my thing. So
when I first met you, I'm pretty sure you had the little chin thing going. I
was trying to grow it up, and it just didn't. It just didn't. Sorry.
It looked okay.
Call it a chin strap. That's what it is. It's a chin strap.
Chia.
Antar Das with the $2 super chat. Coda and the Mexican GP always start at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. I didn't know that, but thank you for verifying that. Appreciate it.
F1's just gotten so much bigger in America. We finally noticed.
And then Alex, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Just want to say congratulations, BFM and the Iceberg, on running the marathon. Tennessee won for Danny, and Eric found a suit that fit him for a wedding. Hey, we all won. Yes, we all won in the end. Awesome.
Mine was tough. I worked really hard on that. I wasn't sure it was going to work out, but
The Need for Speed 5353 with the $5 super chat. Where's the Bad Seasons Ty Dillon 2022 video, Darian? I mean, is it really a bad season? He's running where I expected him to run.
Where's the Ty Dillon guy in the chat? Was that him who always says Ty Dillon supremacy?
He has a 40. He has a 42. So yeah, it is him. Yeah.
Isn't that the same guy?
Maybe he just wants some Ty Dillon content. Yeah. No, sorry. I don't think
he'll take it any way he can get it, even if it's negative.
I don't think that's going to happen, man. Sorry. And then Bruce Morgan with the $5 super chat. I remain confident Elliott makes the Final Four. As always, thanks to all of you for an entertaining couple of hours. Hey, well, thank you.
Thanks for listening.
For watching.
Happy to help.
Yeah, for sure. And then, here he is. David Bell with the $2 super chat. Oh, as he said earlier, Kurt in 2006, Snow Angel win at Bristol. Yes, that was cool. And then also, Mr. Bell, thank you so much for becoming an official BFM channel member. Really appreciate it. And then Stephen D with the $2 super chat. Hey guys, are any of y'all going to be at the Phoenix race? Well, I know Eric is for sure.
I'll be there.
Yeah, Eric.
I don't know about the rest of the gang.
Yeah,
I don't think I will.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Chris, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. The Larson versus Wallace incident reminded me of the Rhodes versus Eckes altercation at Texas in 2020 when Rhodes junked him. Yep. Yeah, that was similar. Yeah.
And I don't think Rhodes got any sort of penalty for that. Did he get maybe a fine?
I don't think he got
so.
anything.
Yeah,
just,
so I don't.
Just a couple of middle fingers from Eckert. That's about it.
No, that hurts worse than anything, I'm sure.
And then Oscar with the $5 super chat. What is your favorite What is your favorite Kurt Busch paint schemes from his career? Mine is the 51 Me car that he ran at Talladega. I'd say, I don't know, his championship, his 2004 championship car was pretty awesome. I like the golden Sharpie with the black. It was cool.
I like that. I love the like purple. I think it was like Irwin Tools back in those days. There was like a more purple one he raced that I liked. I also liked his gear wrench car for a couple years ago at Ganassi. I really like those schemes. They're just matte black with some orange. I liked it.
Yep. And then Andrew Mayer, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Teams can barely hold on. Let me see that. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Teams can barely scrounge enough sponsorship for 38 races. Crew members are stretched thin enough as is. A 40-race season is incredibly tone deaf. I agree, 100%.
There's got to be more to it than that, if that's even a legit rumor.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, just a rumor, so we'll see. And then Double O Music, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Rough day at work. Glad to sit back and relax watching the podcast. Always the highlight of my week. I hope to be at Martinsville next week. Well, hey, that means a lot. Thank you so much, man. Hey, we all go through it sometimes, man, whether it's in work and life in general. Hey, glad we were able to make your evening a whole lot better. That means a lot. Really appreciate that, bro. And then Napa Racing Fan, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Should NASCAR start after NFL and end before NFL? Wait, what?
So go like January to like September or something.
I think ending it that early is too early.
I just don't know. Can you race? Where can you race at in January? It's cold in Daytona. It's cold in Texas.
I mean, NFL ends in February.
Yeah, in February.
Super Bowl is second week of February.
Basically, it would start at the same time it does anyways.
I guess that's true.
And then Cody Workman with the $2 super chat. 4 weeks for a loose wheel, but 1 week for a right hook. I can't really say much to that, but he's kind of got a point, I guess. Yeah, no.
We can't change NASCAR's decision.
Hey,
we can just
comment on them. Yeah, we can just comment on them, basically. Napa Racing Fan, thank you so much for another $5 super chat. What is the future of Storehouse Racing? Storehouse Racing could have 3 empty seats to fill in 2024. If Custer remains, Ford doesn't have many drivers or teams in Xfinity/trucks. It'll be very interesting to see what the future holds for them. Yeah, but definitely there's going to be some rebuilding in the future for that team, no doubt. And then Sergeant Mustang, yes, I love this dude. He makes my iRacing schemes. Super talented. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I don't think it's fair to compare the Bubba / Larson incident to incidents of years past, since NASCAR instituted harsher penalties this year.
They did, and they reworded the rule book a little bit just in the last few weeks.
Yeah. I agree
that's true to an extent, but at the end of the day, they still, the part that what they view as excessive hasn't really changed. I don't know.
I agree with you, Eric. Movement.
It's still 50-50 in the chat. My God.
Movement. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Cheating Astros are winning. Go Brewers.
Oh, they just hit a 3rd home run, not in a row. Oh my gosh, they almost got to the train track.
But Eric, do people still gonna get on Astros fans for the whole cheating scandal? And stuff?
Shit, dude! If I tweet something, that's all my replies are. Yeah. I've just learned to own it. I too was ashamed for about a year, and then the Yankees got caught cheating. Red Sox got caught cheating.
Just own it.
Cardinals guy hacked our computers. I was like, at that point, nope, I'm gonna wear the Astros stuff, and y'all can deal with it.
And then Alex, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. We're almost done, I promise. Thank you so much. New series idea, BFM. Crazy seasons. We can talk about whole season. This would definitely count as a crazy season for sure. Yeah.
By the way, I got a coin ready if we need it.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
God.
And then Rosh Chastain with the $2 super chat. The crash train overload says vote Larson, chat. Hey, last second, and vote Larson, y'all. Yeah. We're counting down. movement with another $2 super chat. Championship seasons Christopher Bell 2022. Yeah, that's yet to be determined, but hey, we know David Bell's all in favor of that. Yeah, so we'll see. And then JS Ski with the $2 super chat. Who are some candidates for a future bus video that are currently in NASCAR? That's
Careful, Icarus.
yeah. I don't know. There's so many.
I think we just have to give it more time right now.
Yeah, just give him more time. Yeah, just give him more time, man. And then C.
You can't rush a bust.
Yeah, you just got to give it some time, man.
Oh gosh.
What was that?
Danny, why have you not made that 3 hours by now? Just for safety.
I don't know. We shouldn't be going over 2 hours.
Oh man.
Because then past me shows up in a random video.
And then
The algorithm, the algorithm pops that up.
And I'm just gonna say this.
His own videos.
I'm just gonna say this because Claudia asked me today, why don't you use that video anymore? That's why, Claudia.
and then the final super chat of the night from C. Will. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thoughts on the Rockingham repave? I've filmed there a couple of times this year. Still needs a lot of work, but it would be cool to see it back on the Cup Series schedule. Hey, I think they're definitely moving in the right direction. Just needs a few more improvements though. Needs some money invested into it, and then it definitely has a shot to be on the Cup Series schedule again. Yep, for the first time since 2004. And oh my gosh, it was just 51-49, but it's 50-50. So
you got to pay attention to the bars. Right now, I think they're even. At one time, the 5 bar looked bigger, but then the 1 bar looked bigger. Now I think they're dead even.
Yeah,
I think we got to flip that coin, Jared.
So just end the poll and then flip the coin.
I think so.
Poll, and if it says 50-49, we know which way it leans because we have an uneven amount of votes.
All right, let me end the poll and let me see what it says.
They're picking.
It says
Chastain.
50-49. Oh, whoa, the one just barely.
And but Eric doesn't necessarily have to pick Larson.
No, I'll pick Larson. I'll go with Kyle. Why not?
Wouldn't that be so? It's like, I'm not going with Larson.
After all that, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go with Bell.
Oh man, yep. So we have our picks done, and that'll conclude this edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Tune in next week on Thursday, not Wednesday, but Thursday on Eric Estep's channel. And Wednesday is the Groovy Hollows race. Have you announced what track it'll be and stuff yet, Eric? Did you announce
Daytona? We're doing the 87 cars at Daytona. We're learning about the origins of last year's hero, the Halloween machine. And so it's kind of a little throwback, going back in time race. I've still got that dirty old VHS tape I dug up that we're going to play next week. And you guys can see how the Halloween machine came to be.
That's the first time.
And Darian's racing in it. Darian will be in it.
Yep.
I don't think we have the rest of the driving lineup public yet, but there will be some real world cup drivers, some well-known sim racers, I believe, on the lineup, on the roster, on the entry list.
Entry list, the roster.
Yeah, all for charity, all for a good cause. Go check out my video from earlier today. But yeah, we'll be back here Thursday, 8 p.m.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Yep. So, and that'll do it for this edition of the NASCAR Weekly Podcast on my channel. Thank you guys so much for making Season 5 such a blast on Black Flags Matter. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time. No Dale call, so.
Bye-bye!
Whoa!
Trigger green. Holy moly. Great job! Yeah! This guy. Thank you! Wow! Hell yeah. Woo-hoo! Great job, man!
Now we got a crash. Cars spinning left and right.
Buddy, let her rip. Rain like hell, baby! Come on! Oh my god, guys! Yes! Yes! Unbelievable! You guys are the best! Yes, 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 yes!